Right, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast. And of course, 4-0 written over it as well. That does feel fairly weird. We're joined by Tom, of course, for our deadline day special. Tom, how you doing, mate? You excited?
Oh, that was a good intro, wasn't it? That looked
felt good.
very sublime.
How you doing, mate?
I'm really good. It's a busy night. Welcome to everyone who joins us. That number's completely disappeared. 195 across both channels so far. So nice to have you with us. Thank you. It'd be great if you could join us for the long haul tonight. We would really appreciate your company for as long or as little as you can be with us this evening. We're very excited about this. Lincoln have just announced a signing, according to Mr. Lincoln himself. So we'll get the details on that in just a moment or two. Good evening and welcome to everyone. Hello to Matt, who says, what's going on with Paddy and the extra bloke? Matt, that is something we will be discussing over the next couple of weeks. And Andy Moon has already tweeted saying that Paddy Lane is in the building. Yes, he is. And French Fry joined, said, long night for you lads, a 3-hour live stream special. And that's exactly what it is, Jack.
It's going to be really, really exciting. We're not just joined, of course, by the two of us. Don't worry, we will have company. We're joined by some very, very special guests as well. Alex Griffin, to name one. Jake, of course, who just commented there as well. He'll be joining us to give us all the ins and outs of that Lincoln City signing as well. And that is not the only signing they've made today and over the last couple of days as well. So lots of people to chat about. But it's going to be 3 hours. It's going to be long. We're here for the long haul. Coffee at the ready, water at the ready. But I feel like it's going to be a really good night. Oxford United, of course, we did announce a signing today. I know a lot of conversation early doors will be about, of course, Portsmouth and the other clubs that have been doing really good business. And we expect business throughout today and tonight as well. Hopefully, Oxford can get a couple of more deals over the line. It's a bit quiet at the moment, but that's the beauty of being here until it's slam shut at 11. Hopefully, we'll have some advancing stories as well. In fact, let's start with Paddy Lane, because that's going to be, of course, a big talking point. And it hasn't been announced yet, but we believe from people close to that football club, it's not far away now, of course, at Fleetwood Town at the moment. I believe it is going to be a permanent deal. And if it does happen, it's going to be quite an exciting one as well. Tom, you're the expert when it comes to Portsmouth. You know what the squad needs. Is Paddy Lane what you think this Pompey squad needs?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I do think so. I'm sorry to kind of cut across you because we will come back to Paddy Lane. But I have just seen a tweet from Jordan Cross, who's a Pompey journalist, and he said that Exeter are pretty much shut for the night in terms of ins and outs. So, and he says that it would take a pretty big bid to change that. So we will get onto that in a moment. Paddy Lane, yeah, really excited by that news. It's obviously been great. It was really this morning that I first kind of heard about it from various different places. So yeah, that's really the latest in terms of how soon that's come about, and it's got all the hallmarks of a deadline day, transfer day, all that kind of thing. I think it's a move that benefits both parties. I think Pompey will be very excited by his arrival. Definitely wide areas is something that we're looking to shore up on, and I think that he's gonna give us that. Albeit I believe it's probably more the right hand side that he's suited to than the left, or he could even play in central midfield, which sounds really exciting too. So yeah, I think it will bring an awful lot of flair and spark.
Hopefully not Flark. That won't be
hopefully not. Won't be too much Flark going on. But yeah, the news at the moment, as Leo quite rightly puts out, is that maybe he won't be joining us, but maybe that the deal looks a little bit further away than might otherwise be. Good news also has just happened. I'm delighted to say that I believe Newcastle may have just gone 1-0 up, which is something else that many Pompey fans will be keeping across this evening. So Dan and Darren on Facebook are pleased to hear that Newcastle have gone 1-0 up. Dave on Facebook says Pompey about to sign at Fuking no one, just seen on Sky Sports, and that's a good that takes you back. I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, what on earth is he on about? But I hope that it's not just him coming in tonight, Dave. Hopefully it will be other people other than Fuking no one. And Adam Poirier is praying for some deadline day drama, which I don't know whether we're going to see it or not, Jack, but it'd be lovely if we do. And I've got a plan if we do announce a signing whilst we're live.
And I've heard the plan, and
am I allowed to play the plan to everyone?
You can play the plan because it might not happen. At the moment, we do think Paddy Lane will be the main one if it does go ahead. But this is the plan, Tom. He's been working on this all afternoon. He hasn't been working. He's been doing this. So if you wonder what he does in his spare time, Tom, far us away. What are you doing?
The plan will be this. If we get a signing, this will be played through your ears. Oh, hang on. That hasn't gone very well. Here we go. Yes. and I'm going to turn that off quickly before we get any copyright. But when the time comes, I'm more than happy to take the copyright hit on it. So did that transmit through to you, Jack? Did you hear that?
It did. I did hear that. Yeah, I was the experience of such beautiful noise. Just a quotation as well from Andrew Moon, of course, who was on 4-0 Sunday Live a couple of days ago. Paddy Lane is in the building. That one is definitely going to be done by 11 o'clock this evening. It's one the fans should be excited about as well. So a direct quote there from Andrew Moon, of course, very close to the football club. He is pretty much confirming that is a done deal. He's in the building. I believe medicals and all that sort of exciting stuff is on the agenda, and then he'll be officially announced. We thought 8 o'clock. Doesn't look like it's going to be 8 o'clock. It's probably going to be a little bit later.
Good that it's not 8 o'clock.
But we will get confirmation during this stream. Hopefully, I think we're pretty sure it will happen. Before we start, we've got our first guest at 8:30, I believe. So we've got a little bit of a chat before that.
Yes.
People have been asking me about my sort of thoughts on the Oxford United deals over the last couple of days. So I'll sort of have a little look at that now. Because this is a perfect opportunity when we've got a lot of other guests coming on later in the show. Of course, Oxford United confirmed the deal of Atif yesterday. That was a done deal from Nottingham Forest. That's a loan deal. No option to buy on that. It's a simple loan deal. So that's going to be exciting. He's been playing under 21s football for Nottingham Forest over the last couple of, I think probably about the last year for sure, maybe 18 months. He looks quite exciting. A lot of Nottingham Forest fans are quite excited about his future. He was linked to Sunderland at the start of the window. That didn't happen. A few rumours over why that was. Maybe the distance, of course. Sunderland is fairly high up in the country. So moving down to Oxford might be a little bit of a better move for him personally. But either way, he's joined Oxford United, which is quite exciting. He's flair, he's quick, he's exciting. I think he should be one of those that hopefully sort of excites fans, which is really what Oxford United need at the moment. We speak about players that can give you something a little bit different. I think he's certainly going to do that. The big question, of course, all these players, and I think won't be the first time we speak about this, Tom, but it's again loan players, first loans coming down to League One. It can be quite a challenge. His first professional loan, I believe, as well. So, of course, there is a risk element to that, as there always is. And of course, today as well, another loan deal. Tyler Smith has joined from Hull City. So, again, a simple loan deal on that one. He's a striker, 23 years of age, I believe 5 goals in, I think, 13 starts or 12 starts for Hull this season. He has made championship appearances, but clearly they feel as though a loan move suits both parties. So we are looking for a striker. We are looking for that number 9. Atif can play in his attacking roles, but Tyler Smith is that more out-and-out striker. So to be honest with you, I am happy. I think we did need faces. A little bit frustrating it's taken this long to sound slightly ungrateful. I know that we should be happy they finally happened, but I always come back to the same thing, Tom. This is a question for you. We always, well, Oxford do anyway, leaving it late is a real frustration, especially when we've been so poor for the majority of January. You get those players in the 3rd or 4th of January. I understand domino effects in transfers play a massive part, but you just feel we could have done a little bit better with that and got that early. But we shouldn't be ungrateful. They're in the building, and they're the 2 players that we've signed so far in this window, alongside Fleming, of course, who joined early on.
I think if it happens, it happens. So you know, is it whether it like you think about Mehmeti, that's a transfer deadline day one, and that's probably the biggest one of the window in League One, which I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to chat through later on this evening. So yeah, we've got lots to get through. I think for me, transfer deadline day, and you don't know how long negotiations have been going with some of these players. You know, they don't just wake up on transfer deadline morning and go, oh, right, let's sign some players now. You know, it's a little bit more long-winded than that. And there'll be people, Pompey fans, there'll be Oxford fans, there'll be other League One fans watching this tonight that are thinking, oh, you know, it screams lack of ambition if something comes along on transfer deadline day and then doesn't actually happen. And this is not me trying to ease the pain on the Giovanni Brown news, which is obviously not going to be happening anymore or looks incredibly unlikely to be happening. My personal point of view would be, well, sometimes the player doesn't want it to happen, like personal circumstances. You're talking about geezer from coming down from Sunderland all the way to Oxford. You know, it's a long old stint. And I know there'll be lots of Oxford fans and Pompey fans who'll be watching this thinking how long of an away trip Sunderland always used to be when they were in our league. So, you know, you can't envy a player making that move all the way down who maybe doesn't want to make that move all the way down. There's obviously family to consider, kids at school, that kind of thing. I know even John Messinio's kids are still at school up where he's been living in Oxford, and they're only going to come down over the summer. His wife's still up there. He's actually down on his own at the minute. So, you know, there's personal circumstances. And then the other flip side of the coin, as we were chatting about before we went live on the stream tonight, Jack, is that sometimes deals and terms and whatever it is, release clauses, etc., can't actually be arranged either.
Yeah, there's more to it. I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, there you can sort of say, I like this player, let's get him on loan. But again, like I said with the Teeth, I mean, he'd gone to Sunderland on the 3rd of January. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. So it is a domino effect. And I think a problem that we had earlier on, more in the summer, really, is sort of Premier League clubs. You sort of go, well, he's a youngster, or he's not getting first team football. Well, it only takes one Premier League injury, and they're in the matchday squad, and then they're not available to go out on loan or anything like that. So you might think they're not part of the sort of operations at the club you've just got them from, but a couple of injuries to a Hull City striker, for example, Tyler Smith suddenly is not available on loan, and then that negotiation completely breaks down. So there's a lot of factors. It's not just we fancy him on loan, let's bring him in there. There's multiple reasons why a transfer can or can't be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's chat to see what a few of you have got going on. And the reason why we're live first and foremost this evening is because we've although we've got each other and then we've got a whole host of guests coming on this evening as well. The best news is that we get to hear from you, all 353 of you that join us across YouTube, Facebook, and everywhere. There's 86 of you who join us on the Young Fan Podcast, 254 here on Fournilwrittenalloverit, and there's also a little group of 12 of you on Facebook. So to the 12 people on Facebook, an extra special shout out to you. Leo says a bit more news on Giovanni. Tweeted something about staying, which was reposted by Exeter, now been deleted. Yes, we were talking about that before we came on. Actually, there's a bit of a the Wolf of Wall Street story. Is I'm
not leaving.
I spoke to you about it, didn't I? And it's kind of, and as we said earlier, Exeter City doing no more ins and outs tonight unless a substantial offer was to be on the playout. So for Brown, so it doesn't mean anything. No, it doesn't mean anything. Are Pompey going to pull their fingers out of the proverbial calls it and put in a big old offer that Exeter can't refuse in the next? How long have we got now, Jack? Less than 3 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes.
It's not long. And if they haven't negotiated a fee, that feels even shorter. They've got, of course, go through personal terms and things like that. So it feels like it's going to be going into the 11th hour, I think is the phrase for that one.
Yeah, it feels like it's sorry by the way, Leo, that I didn't get to your comment. It'll be one of those tonight where we'll try and get to every single one we possibly can. But it might be a case of them flicking through as quickly as they will do inevitably when we get maybe even more news or news of it not happening, news of it happening, etc. So we'll try and get through as many as we possibly can. But yeah, these are the kind of comments I really like. Matt Ritchie's seen the Istanbul kebab house eating cheesy chips. Yeah. They're world class. Keep them coming tonight. We'd like to see as many of those as you possibly can.
I'll bring this one on the screen as well. Sorry, Matthew Bell, glad to finally be able to join. Feels so long. Matthew, thank you very much, of course. One of the ultras when it comes to the Young Fan Podcast, Matthew. It's great to see you. And welcome along.
The nice thing about this as well is me and Jack both have, it's like doing a presentation at school. We both have dual controls of the comments that we bring up as well. So we're all good, and we're here for the long haul tonight. If you're just joining us, or if you haven't yet done so, please leave a like on both streams wherever you join us across YouTube, Facebook, whatever. We want to try and get as many. This is the great beauty about this as well, is that we can really hit the target in terms of likes as well, because there's going to be people coming, people going, people staying for the long haul as best they can. Leave us a like and we were talking about this, weren't we?
Look at this, Matt.
Matty,
amazing.
What
a man. I know, Matt, Charlton fan. How you doing, mate? Thank you very much for the super. You don't have to do that, but we can put that towards our transfer fund because we might need that later for Giovanni Brown. Well, I won't. I'm not. Well, I could buy him. I don't know.
Could Matt come on at some point and chat to us about Cheltenham?
Matt, if you want to do it, drop me a DM and I'll. If you are free, I'll send you all the required details, Matt. If you're up for it.
There's a comment here from Jake who said, how do you feel about the banner flying around the park? Thomas reading they're planning on keep doing it every home game, apparently. It's not something that I've read personally, Jake. How do I feel about it? I feel like it was the wrong time to do it. We had a lot of kind of reflecting on three really important people at Pompey, Ace, Steve, and of course Anton Walks, who very sadly lost their lives in the kind of the weeks and days leading up to that game. So it felt like an important one. It was also John Massinio's first game in charge at Fratton Park as well. So it felt like the circumstances are wrong. There is quite a lot of substance to the document. I will say that there is quite a lot of substance to the document in terms of what they have been talking about in terms of the lack of ambition, and I think it's very well written. But the plan itself, I think was inappropriate. And I don't know whether they'll do it again or not. We'll see. Who knows? But that would be my what I'd say at the moment. There was another there was something that pinged up on my phone a minute ago, Jack, which I will be Luke Mbete joining Bolton Wanderers on loan till the end of the season from Manchester City. I don't know if you saw that one earlier on.
Yeah, Bolton have had quite a good window, really. I think they've sort of had to do a couple of deals with sort of injuries and things like that, suspensions. Striker really has been the main area to look at. I think we've been speaking about a striker for Bolton for quite a long time. They needed someone to come in there. Their XG, their goal score was really, really low. So they needed someone to sort of really have that clinical edge. They brought Dan and Dulu on loan from Southampton, I believe. And like you said as well, that they've it's gone down well. And they've got quite a few strikers through the door as well. So yeah, that's one of them. They have signed others. Adebayo from Burton as well, a really, really exciting name. Somebody that in a Burton side this season, hasn't been struggling at all when his side really for points and things like that. We won't talk about Burton on Saturday because without him, they still managed to beat us comfortably 2-0, but that isn't the point. Of course, he's a top player, great goal contributions. I think his conversion rate for a side, like I say, that are struggling and not creating many chances. He's not just scoring goals, but he's creating chances for himself as well. So Adebayo and Dulu, like I say as well, quite a few names joining Bolton Wanderers in this window as they continue to strengthen and go for this playoff push, which seems right now quite likely.
A massive thank you to Leo for the 79p donation. That's really kind of you, mate. And sorry that it took me a little while to get to your comment earlier on. James said, I think the banner was a bit silly. We clearly have the ambition, just taking things at a certain pace. And there is a Mags fan in. Good evening and welcome to MK22D. Thank you for being with us. And thank you to the 385 people who join us too, including MK22D. What we should talk about, Jack, is Pompey signing Deshaun. What do you make of it?
I mean, it's there's a bit of a risk, part of that. Of course, he's joined from Manchester United. This is a loan deal from a Premier League club. I'm going to bang on about it all the time, but there is a risk element to it. But it also, as much as there's risk, there's also a lot of excitement because from what I know, apparently he's a bit of I think the word on Twitter, and this is not the most insightful piece of information I'm going to give you tonight, but he's a bit of a techie baller, is what I've heard. So he seems quite exciting. All jokes aside, he does seem quite a enthusiastic, energetic player. I think he could be quite a good fit there. You did need a centre back, and he's going to come in and provide that. The question for you, Tom, throwing it straight back at you: does he get into your starting 11? I know you got Raggett. You've signed. Who you signed? What's his name? Towler. You signed as well.
Towler, yeah.
Yeah, so you sign a few centre-backs in this window on top of the players you've already got there. Of course, Morrison's left the football club, so that was always an area in focus. Does he get in that 11? Does he get in that starting side?
He does, I think. Good morning to Michael, who joins us all the way from Australia. He's here to hear all the good news. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for being with us.
What time is it there? That's the question I say.
It's probably morning, Jack, because he said morning. So we
That's why you read the comments.
That's why you read it.
But we're 20 minutes in.
Yeah, I was going to say that normally happens in the last hour, not the first 20 minutes. And a massive thank you to Stefan as well. He's just come up with a. See, we're talking about this. We might get 1 or 2 donations, but we weren't expecting 3 within 19 minutes. So Stefan, thank you. He's a long-term follower of Fournilwrittenalloverit, and yes, we're very much hoping these moves work out, and we're going to be chatting about them all evening, Stefan. So it'd be great to see you join us for those. As Leo's quite already said, yeah, everyone's a big fan of Towler. So am I. It's 6:19 a.m. in Queensland from John Clark. So there you go, Jack. There's your timestamp for you.
Early start.
And Steve-O is an extra fan on Facebook, and he says Giovanni Brown going nowhere. James also says it's got to be Dawes. Yeah, your original question, sorry, I got distracted by the comments, but welcome to everybody and thank you for being with us, was regarding the centre-back pairing and whether Sean Raggett will now get a look in.
Does he get in there?
Opposed to... for me, no, he doesn't. I think, why would we sign a youngster on loan from Manchester United for the rest of the season and stick him on the bench for the next couple of weeks? I think that would be silly.
And Manchester United wouldn't want that as well. Man
United, no, exactly.
That was a waste of a loan.
And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of clause in his contract to say that he needs to play not X amount of minutes, X amount of games, but he needs to be getting first team football on the regular, which will probably be part of the deal that he's been promised and kind of attracted to. I know that he posted on Twitter saying how excited he was to be playing at Fratton Park, which a lot of people who come to Pompey are, and in front of the away support that we have that travel up and down the country to come and see us week in, week out, which is great as well. Yeah, I think it's got to be Towler and this new guy from United, Bernard, for me. I know that's a relatively youthful centre-back pairing. You'll also have the experience of Conor Ogilvie playing on that left-hand side, which will sort of ground the team a little bit. And obviously young Zach Swanson as well. And that's not me saying, Darren on Facebook said it's 2-0 to Newcastle, which is great to see. I don't know if we can verify that, but I don't know if you've got the game on there. I know, and Jeff says 2-0 Mags as well. So I think that's probably just coming through on everyone's screen. And so's Lee as well. So that's great to see. Lovely. We don't even need to, and it's just come through on my phone as well. So yes, 2-0 Newcastle. Lovely to see. That's going to be a good watch tonight. We're only 20 minutes into that one as well. The fans has a big draw. My only thing would be it's quite a youthful back line. Zach Swanson's, what is he? I think he's younger than me. And you got Riley Towler, who's obviously not had an awful lot of first team experience. And actually that was seen in evidence and in earnest at Peterborough, Jack, to be honest with you. We had a couple of hairy moments, i.e. number one is a penalty being given away, which was a big and defining moment in that game that was right in front of us and was definitely a penalty. And it's probably a little bit of a relapse on Zach Swanson's behalf, because that's a moment where he's trying to cover up for a mistake he's made earlier and previous to that in that phase of play. So that would be my kind of thinking there. We need some we need a little bit of experience in that back line, yes, but you also want that flair and that talent and that ability to drive forward with the ball and the confidence with the ball at your feet. And does Sean Raggett give you that on enough occasions? No, I don't think he does. So that would be my point of view. We have our first colleague of the evenings join us, by the way, Jack. I don't know if you've seen him.
I'm very excited. Of course, I've seen him.
It might be time to change. We've got to change the background, though. Got to change the background. You're in charge of the background, Jack, and I'll get Pepe on, because otherwise, there we go. Good evening, sir. How are we? Welcome.
Good evening. How are we?
Busy day?
Oh, busy. If I tell you I've been at work since 7 o'clock this morning, I don't know what. Yeah. Oh, hang on. I might have to dip again. Oh, my boss is phoning me.
Oh, see you in a bit, Pepe. Change the background, Jack. We'll have you back on in a minute.
We book him in. He goes and does that.
Well, to be fair, we was booked in for past, so that might happen a couple of times. But
if Pepe can bring us exclusive information, you can go as much as you like, Pepe. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
That's good news. I was about to say that's very good news, because if Mark's ringing him, that means something's happening. So it's good to see.
Amazing.
Shall we have a quick chat about why that Rico goal was disallowed, Jack? Did you see it?
I did see it. I mean, I watched the stream where you had that sort of. It's the same conversation you had on your stream on Sunday. Is that right? You had quite an
yes. We had a lengthy discussion about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, I actually think Jake's point, and we've got Jake coming on later because he was on the same stream, and he actually gave quite a good point about it. To be honest with you, I don't know the letter of the law, but at the same time, who does know the letter of the law? I don't think even though the referees know in that type of situation. But I think the example that Jake gave was really good, and that was similar to the Manchester United goal. Of course, against Man City in the derby there, where obviously in terms of interfering with play, it's a really quite tough one to make a decision on. But I mean, look, it's frustrating, and also as well, and this again, it's a neutral stream, so I'll be as nice but also as fair and honest as I can. I think it's one of those where you've always got to look at it from the other side's perspective. If this happened to Peterborough, would you be saying it's a goal? I don't know, Tom. That's a question for you. It's tough. Like I say, it's letter of the law, really, and. Do we all know the letter of the law in that situation? I'm not entirely sure we do.
Ollie Shaw has completed a move to Barnsley. They've signed him. He's a Scottish striker for an undisclosed fee from Kilmarnock. That is a.
Will he be available for tomorrow? That's the question. Of course, we're playing Barnsley tomorrow. So if he's available for tomorrow, that would be not great. Hopefully,
no, it wouldn't be amazing. But the news is also significant for Pompey fans, because that will be a game on Saturday. Ryan has said there's only one Jack Ward, as one of your super fans in the chat.
How you doing,
and Bailey's also loving the stream, so thank you, Bailey, much appreciated.
Bailey. We know Bailey's a good lad.
This is a Peterborough United fan, PUFC Jacob, saying, as a Peterborough fan, I'm not going to lie, I thought you were poor for about 65 minutes. Yes, we were. And we decided that football matches last 65 minutes, and so did the refs. That's an interesting take on that. That's interesting. That's something that obviously is unconfirmed at the moment. I know Andy's probably a very reliable source.
I think I was been told earlier from a source that I think it's public, but I think that is a deal that is done.
Yeah.
Like I say, I've got to be quite careful. I think if it was public Twitter, I can say what it is. I can't remember if he told me privately, because I know Oxford United were interested in her in the window.
Yes.
So I sort of had a little look to see, well, earlier in the window, earlier today, actually. I had a little look to see if this was sort of legitimate information from a source that quite close to Tottenham, actually, and really the EFL. And it was sort of, there was interest, that there was interest from Oxford United. But the problem was, and quite a big problem, and something that we always knew was going to happen, a youngster like Harvey White is someone that's always going to pick up quite a lot of interest. I think West Brom were wanted him. I think Barnsley also were in that mix.
Well, we've had him before.
You've had him before, and I think we'll give a little bit of insight on him. Derby have got that deal done. Is it official? I don't exactly know, but I think that is I'm happy to say deal done on that. Tom, a little insight on Harvey White. Good midfield, I've heard.
Yes, he scored a goal at your place, which I'd like to remind you of. I remember, I think it was probably either one of or the only goal that he ever scored for us. He actually did recently make his Premier League debut, of course, in that game where Tottenham absolutely battered Crystal Palace at away from home on the week before we played them in the FA Cup. So yeah, I think he played a good half an hour. I've just had a message, Jack, and this is going to be the case for quite a lot of the stream.
If we're looking down on our phones, that's because we're looking at it. We're not ignoring you. We're just sort of making sure we don't miss anything. And I've just seen Andy's just said here it's on Derby's Twitter, so I think that is a confirmed done deal. Harvey White to Derby County, good signing for them.
I've just had a message from a chap who is very much in the know and is part of the setup, should we say. I'd be very careful with how I describe him. He's just messaged me saying, believe Brown is a no-go this window. X to want more than Pompey are willing to offer. It could be something that they revisit in the summer. And there is actually also, and I know I try and sound secretive with that news, but there's been a video posted by the Exeter socials, hasn't there, of their manager Gary Caldwell saying that that's it for the window and reviewing the window, etc. So that's pretty much sorts it all out for us in terms of that. And there was a little bit of a moment, as you said, and for the benefit of the people just joining us, and thank you to everyone who's with us and will be joining us for the duration. I'm just looking at Jack and waiting for the wink to come. Joining us for there it is, from the
on the
wave from the very start. We'll probably be repeating ourselves a couple of times. That's obviously part of the course as people kind of dip in, dip out, and come and join us, etc. So apologies if you kind of hear one or two things twice. But yeah, we had a little bit of a saga earlier on with Giovanni Brown. He tweeted a quote from a very famous film series of the Leonardo DiCaprio series, nonetheless, and he's very and the Exeter City socials did actually reply to that as well with a little starstruck emoji, or was it a heart eyes emoji, and then that then all got deleted quite quickly, which was
they teased it with the delete sort of was a little bit of a tease. One thing on Paddy Lane as well, Chris Wise, I think you've just quite close to Portsmouth, I believe. I think he's a Portsmouth journalist. He has said Northern Ireland International, Paddy Lane, League One Young Player of the Year in 2022. So I think you're getting quite an exciting player on your hands there with Paddy Lane. That's I think the one that is pretty sure imminent. I think we probably will see a done deal on Paddy Lane by the end of definitely the stream, but also of course the end of the stream is the end of the transfer window as well. So we'll have that done by the end of the day.
The only issue with the Giovanni Brown Paddy Lane thing is, yes, we can all get really excited by Paddy Lane arriving, and I think Jake will join us in just a few seconds. We'll be able to give us a little bit more insight than maybe me and you might be able to. But we haven't got anyone like Giovanni Brown. There is literally no one in that Pompey setup who has that kind of capability to do what Giovanni Brown does or could do in a Pompey setup. My concern would be that he will probably go for free in the summer, and there will be a lot more interest when people don't have to, teams and clubs don't have to pay a fee. So
interesting to see though, if he is out of contract in the summer, what fee they demand in January? I mean, that is, that's interesting.
To be honest with you, and this is not me being cynical, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but I wouldn't have thought it'd take an awful lot of a fee that's extortionate to put Pompey off a deal. We are not well known for going above and beyond we're far from well known to be going above and beyond to make a deal happen. But I mean, 2 out of the 3 targets that we all knew about this morning would be okay. Danny said, great show, lads. Thank you very much, Danny. Much appreciated. Robo said it could be Fournilwrittenalloverit. I'm assuming he's he's talking about the game that's on the telly at the moment. Mate Vidra in talks with Sheffield Wednesday from Jordan Ellis. Any news on Jake O'Brien? Will we discuss that at length later on, I'm sure. Jack says we should have just spent the money, and apparently Exeter wanted 500k for him.
That's
So there
tough.
we go.
500k for a player 6 months of his contract seems quite high.
If that is the case, then we will be.
But he's a good player, as we'll speak to Jake in a second. He's sort of also as well. It's important to mention we're speaking about it from a Portsmouth perspective. For Exeter, it's a massive loss if you lose someone like Giovanni Brown.
So.
He's been a massive part of their promotion last season. Of course, their sort of brilliant season. You describe it this year as well. So yeah, disappointing for Pompey, but for Exeter, I mean, it's in the end a good window. They signed some more players and they kept on to Giovanni Brown by the looks of it.
Get that background change then, son. Let's get him in. Let's get him involved. While he does that, so I chatted to an Exeter City fan who wasn't Harris as it goes. He described him as the best ever technical player, who is astonishing with the ball, excellent at League 2 level, and even better in League 1. Let's not forget that Giovanni Brown, excuse me, that beer is making me a bit guttural. I might try and ease off it a little bit. 12 goals and 9 assists in League 1 in 27 appearances this season. Big loss, Jake. Giovanni Brown. Good evening to you. Welcome.
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, Jack. How are we both?
I'm good.
Good. Yeah, Giovanni Brown's a player, mate. I'm not surprised that Exeter were after him at all. I think he's one of the players that, if you add their goals and assists up, he's got the most goal contributions in League 1 this season. So I'm not surprised that Pompey thought they might be able to get a deal done. Obviously, if Exeter have demanded a fee, it's going to be difficult. I can imagine you speak to me about the Islers quite a lot and the ownership of Portsmouth and say they're not really too keen on splashing the cash. So, you know, I'm surprised he's not gone and joined Matty Taylor at Rotherham, to be honest. I know that was rumoured towards the start of the window. So disappointing for Pompey, I can imagine. But if you guys can get Paddy Lane over the line, then I think that might soften the blow a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely. I was what was I going to say? Yes, I bought a ticket for a certain game at Sinsel Bank earlier on today, Jake. I don't know if you yeah. Oh, we've got I don't know if he gives me the all clear to get him in, then I'll get him in. I don't know if he's going to be busy or not. I'm just looking down. He's not listening to me. He's picking his fingers at the minute. He's got no idea that I'm talking to him. But if certain Mr. Lacey's ready, he'll give me a thumbs up and tell me that he's ready. I don't know if he's got us on silent or not. No, he's
ignoring us. He's
ignoring me a little bit. I don't know if you can hear me. He's just on his phone. I might message him and pop up at the top of his screen. Yeah, Jay. Obviously, Giovanni Brown. Tell us a little bit about. Oh, before we do, there's a lot of love for you, by the way. Links has said it's Todger himself up the imps, Jake.
That's my mate Jack.
Yeah, that's your mate Jack. Hello, Jack. Welcome on.
Hello, mate. Welcome.
Connor said, get the beers on. Yeah, we're not going to be having too many of those. It's just to soften the fact that we're going to be live.
It's 3 hours, man. We can't start the first hour. Let's not, maybe the third hour I might get away with it.
It's only the one, mate, for the time being. I haven't got any others.
That's what he tells you. Be on that computer. Do you read to the
I'll have to. Well, I've got a coffee as well, which is almost gone now, and then there's also some water. So there's various drinks and beverages going on.
Great deadline day chat, this, isn't it?
Sorry, yeah, I don't mean to bore you. There's the plummet off the cliff of the.
Look at all those people leave there.
Speaking of, we've had some knocks donated to us, everybody. I'm not going to have a look and see how much 55 or what the equivalent of a knock is. But welcome to Joanne Charlton, who says, Charlton doing business. Jake, talk to us about Charlton Athletic's transfer window so far.
Yeah, decent, I think, for Charlton. Obviously, they've brought in, is it Michael Hector today, who's been training at Sheffield Wednesday in recent weeks. I think they were hoping to get the deal over the line after people that I've spoke to at Sheffield Wednesday. So, difficult, but again, Charlton, obviously Charlie Kirk's just gone out to Burton, which it's been difficult for Charlie Kirk to get going at Charlton. I think he's had a real indifferent time, but I think, they've lost a couple of key players, Stockley going on to Fleetwood. So, yeah, Charlton have had a good window, I think, and if they can get themselves back up towards that sort of mid-table mark, then I'm sure they'll all be happy down there.
Stevie said, all right, Tommy, absolute legend. Another absolute legend is Pepe Lacey, who rejoins us. And he can't believe that Tom's old enough to drink beer already. Been watching him since he was a baby. And I'm sure many people will be remembering when I was... Do you remember when I was a baby on YouTube, Pepe? Were you knocking around
then? There was actually... I think it was Stevenage away. Wow. All those years ago. I think he lost 3-0 or something. I think my mate was in the video. I can't remember.
We were awful.
But I remember... all the way back then, when was that? 16, 17, was it? 15, 16? I remember watching your Plymouth semi-final vlog.
Oh, God, we don't need to watch that. Yeah. No one go back and watch that.
Reload it.
No one go back and watch that. Pepe, if you wouldn't mind, for the benefit of people that might not have seen you on their screen before, would you mind? Excuse me, I'm really gonna have to ease off the Peroni. Would you mind telling us what you do?
Yeah. So I hate talking about myself, but I'm
Sorry, job interview, Pepe. Sorry about this.
no, I'm a reporter for the Ports of News. So yeah, I've been all over the
And now you wonder why he doesn't like speaking about himself. You go and ask him, then you give him that.
No, actually, I think my most important job is being a moderator now on Fournilwrittenalloverit.
There we go.
I got that role as well. I'm delighted.
Best stream.
Jake, are you a moderator?
No, mate, I'm not. I've been completely overlooked.
That is awkward.
We'll get that sorted now. We'll get that sorted. I'm just literally going to go back and find your name. So, with that in mind, Pepe, the reason why people are asking for the good news, is there anything that you can disclose? Not to put you under pressure. What's the phone call
I think
about?
it's been well documented at the moment that Paddy Lane is closing on a move. That was reported by Jordan Cross, my colleague, earlier in the day. That is going to happen at some point today. So yeah, it's just watch your space really with him. But then other than that, Giovanni Brown doesn't look like it's going to happen, unfortunately. Geordie again's just put out a story confirming that he put a tweet out about half an hour ago saying Exeter aren't expecting any outgoings or further incomings. They've just signed a striker about an hour ago, but it looks like Giovanni Brown will be staying at Exeter, so that's all the latest we sort of know. It's just watch your space really with Paddy Lane, so fingers crossed there will be an incoming before 11 o'clock. It's just when, not if. If that brings any positive news to the stream, Tom.
That's very positive. It's more positive than what we're getting at the moment, but it looks quite quiet on the Oxford front.
Could quite possibly be something that breaks on the stream. We don't know. Steve says, brilliant group of young podcasters. Just missing Ben, who hopefully is on the mend. Good luck to you all. Jake, could you give us a little update for the benefit of the stream on our good friend Benjamin?
Yeah, so I've spoke to Ben today, actually. He's been able to get up out of bed for the first time. Today he's been in a chair, unfortunately, but no, he's on the mend. He's definitely, doctors said he should be on the road to recovery now, so I can imagine you'll see him back at Highbury. Maybe not in the same capacity as before, but definitely he'll be there in attendance in hopefully a couple of weeks, if not months.
Great news.
That is really good news. Did we want to do a little bit on Lincoln City, Jack, while we've got Jake with us?
We had a bit of breaking news as the stream started. Aiden O'Brien, I think that's how you pronounce his second name. I hope it is. Has joined. O'Brien, is it? Right. There we go. And that's not how you pronounce his name. There you go. Well, we all know now. He's joined on a permanent deal. Quite exciting, actually. We were linked to him. I think Forest Green were interested in him as well, quite early on in the Pompey also as well. Quite a few sort of League One clubs wanted him. Central midfielder, quite tall as well, quite physical. But I imagine, Jake, you've got more on him. But a good transfer, really. Permanent as well. Young, fairly young. It's a good deal.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one, actually. It was a signing that we had to make in the draw against Ipswich. Matty Virtue, who's been massive for us so far this year, he pulled up injured after 20 minutes, and we've sort of had to play with Lass Sorensen and Max Sanders in that sort of midfield too, and it's not really worked too well, despite Lass Sorensen probably having one of the games of his season away at Fratton Park, second game of the season. It was unbelievable that day.
When you won 0-0, yeah?
Yeah, the one that we won 0-0, yeah. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that was a great result, Tom, and you know it. Anyway, yeah, so Ethan's come in, obviously from St Mirren. He's played over 100 games for a 21, 22-year-old. That's pretty good. I've watched a bit back of him. He's a sort of a box-to-box midfielder, a bit of a destroyer as well, which I think will sit pretty nicely next to Matty Virtue. So, no, I think it's a deal that Lincoln are happy to make. Obviously, it's been reported that it's £300,000, whether that's accurate or not. From what we're led to believe, it's slightly less than that. And if everything, sort of all the bonuses are met, then it's going to go up to 300k, which would make him then our record signing. So, no, good to see the club throwing a bit of ambition around in January, but it's definitely in a position that we needed. Obviously, not our only signing over the last sort of 24 hours either, which has sort of rounded off a good window for Lincoln so far. Obviously, one or two players may be rumoured to come back in. Maybe Pepe can talk to us a little bit about Rico Hackett, one that definitely we're interested in, I've heard.
No, he's not going to talk to us.
Oh, no, he's not going to talk to me about it.
My phone. Sorry.
Thanks, Pepe. That was slick.
Sorry. I didn't realise that
He
was
played
a
it off
question
well as
to
well.
me. It was Rico Hackett, but no, I believe he will be staying. But the signs are that he will be staying. John Macedo, after Saturday, wasn't expecting any departures at all before the end of the window. Pompey have two after Bernard, don't know how you say his surname, but they have two now spaces left in their squad, so they wouldn't need Hackett to go if they were to bring in 3 players before the end of the deadline, which it just isn't going to happen. But yeah, we are expecting Hackett to stay, and that means Pompey will have 21 men in their squad as it stands. So yeah, plus obviously cover as well. John Messina was quite clear when he first came in that he wanted cover in every position, and Rico Hackett brings that cover to Owen Dale. And if, like we just mentioned, Giovanni Brown probably won't be coming to Fratton Park now, so that means if you get rid of Hackett, you've just got Owen Dale on the right, and you don't want to do that. You're just shooting yourself in the foot for no reason. So as it stands, Rico Hackett probably will not be leaving Fratton Park.
Just a little timestamp for you all. Welcome and thank you for joining us for the first 42 minutes of the stream. 408 if you join us live across YouTube and Facebook. If you do the maths, that's a 96, 302, 10 split across the Young Fan Podcast, Fournilwritten all over it, and Fournilwritten all over it on Facebook as well. And oddly, that all adds up to 406. So great to hear. Wow. Jeff said, did I hear one of the lads say Giovanni Brown has only 6 months left in his contract? If that's the case, can't justify spending too much cash on him at the time. Absolutely. So why would you want to seal the deal when there might be an option for it?
I think it's competition really on that, isn't it? I think there probably will be more competition when it's a free transfer in the summer. That probably is a downfall. If you've got someone, if you can pay the money now and get it done now, you haven't got to worry about, like Jake said earlier on, Rotherham coming in potentially. Teams like that will have to be on alert come the summer. So maybe the thinking was get it done early while the clubs aren't going to get a real bargain for him in the summer.
Corbs said, was Sheffield Wednesday a great away? It was indeed. Yes, there are some scenes that I will always remember. And Pepe's just disappeared again with absolutely no warning whatsoever. So we'll take him out. He's probably got another Pompey signing coming in, everybody. So might need to get ready on the old Mike Oldfield. Mikey said, if they want a fee for Brown above our valuation, yes, he's out of contract in the summer. So potentially available on a free. Sorry, we walk away. Nothing wrong with that. Jake, opinions on Mehmeti to Bristol City? Probably the blockbuster League One signing of the window thus far.
Yeah, I think it's. Oddly, I sat there and looked at the tweet this morning and thought it was a bit of a strange move from Mehmeti, to be honest. Bristol City are not, a club that are massively thriving in the Championship, and having watched him so far this year, it's a step up, granted.
In
I
league
just
format.
think that maybe he could have gone on to somewhere a little bit maybe better and better for his development. Obviously, Bristol City are a fantastic football club with great facilities, etc. So maybe that swayed him. But I thought maybe, you're looking at maybe a top half Championship top club, maybe one of those that are going for the playoffs. That's how much ability this lad's got. But certainly for Wickham, obviously a massive loss. They've brought in the lad from Wolves, haven't they, Campbell, to replace him on loan, which I don't think many people have seen. But no, I think it's a good, obviously, good for Bristol City that they're able to get that calibre of player, and definitely someone they needed, because they took Sykes off Oxford in the summer. It's not really worked out for him so far there, but maybe Mehmeti might hit the ground running next week.
Jack, you mentioned Mehmeti earlier on to me when we were prepping for this. What are your thoughts on it all? I'm just going to quickly shoot off. I'll be right back.
I mean, it's a good signing, isn't it? Like Jake said there, it's exciting for Bristol City. For Wickham, it is a big loss, although they have replaced him. I believe as well, I could be wrong here, I think it is a record fee for Wickham Wanderers. So there is a positive for that. They are going to be able to reinvest that money, hopefully. Could it be too late to reinvest that in this transfer window? Potentially, but they're going to have, of course, a summer to have that money. But he's tricky, he's skillful. He ripped it apart on last Tuesday, so a little bit frustrating he's waited this long to make the deal happen. A couple of weeks ago would be nice. We might have got a more positive result because he was brilliant down that left-hand side. But he's a great player, and I'm not surprised he's gone to the Championship, really, because he could make that step up. Whether or not he could have maybe waited until the summer for Wickham's sake, potentially. But if you're going to get a good free from now and they have replaced him, you can maybe see why. A few more comments on here as well. We've got the Dream Trio. Well, now Tom's not here. This is the Dream Trio. So we'll have that one there. He's not here. This is the Dream Trio. Thank you very much to the Cornish channel on there. Don't tell him. Amazing stuff. Who else have we got here as well? I think I saw earlier as well. Opinions on I think it's just gone through here as well. That's opinions on Mahemati. Pepe, you got opinions on that one? That seems to be, quite, like Tom said, probably the marquee signing of today. But it is exciting, and it's a big loss for a League One side. He's muted. He's muted. There he is.
I'm on mute. It's all going wrong here, isn't it?
Honestly.
Go back to November. Pompey played Wickham, and he just ripped Pompey to shreds. Like you just mentioned, he was such a difficult threat going forward to defend, and I just remember him being on Wickham's left-hand side, and I think it was Pompey's first game playing with a back five, and they didn't have a right back, and it was Owen Dale right wing back, and he was just getting torn apart left, right, and centre. And I think he did score against Pompey. I think it was 2-0. That was probably one of the lowest points of the season. And yeah, I just remember he was the Wickham standout player. And you look at Wickham, and they're notoriously a team that are quite strong, well built, physical. He had those physical attributes, but also he had a creativeness about him. He had a bit of a spark, and he was able to cut in, and he was able to produce a fierce shot. And that's someone you don't really see with Wickham, but Gareth Ainsworth had a really good asset on him. And I think he mentioned just before the window opened that he wanted to keep him, and all the signs were that they were going to keep him. And it only really came until yesterday, where he was going to move to Bristol City. And yeah, like you mentioned, that is probably the highlight transfer of the window of the deadline day. Sorry, so far.
I don't know. Where does this come from? Hope Tom washed his hands. I went downstairs purely to. I didn't go to the toilet. I went to see my. I didn't go to get another beer. No, my sister-in-law was on the phone with my little nephew, and he's now £11. So I just wanted to go and see. Not
Did you see Paddy Lane's coming in?
As in, is it all? It's confirmed, is it? Yeah, very funny. Yeah. There was Danny says, is Andrew making an appearance tonight? Yes, I'm sure we can squeeze that in between now and 11. Brendan said, handsome Tom is back. That's very kind of you, Brendan. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll have. I know.
Just like that when you weren't there. That's fine.
Thanks, mate.
I've got
what about this, Jack?
I was going to put that on the screen there. Yeah, I think it's a really, really good signing. Peterborough, they've got that main striker in Jonson Clarke-Harris, haven't they? But I think, as somebody, if Jonson Clarke-Harris gets injured, you've got to look at other alternatives. He can't play every single game. If he gets injured, of course, that's not possible. So to have someone like that, we were linked to him a couple of windows ago, actually. I think it was at Boreham Wood. He had an amazing streak of goals when he was at Boreham Wood, and he sort of moved. I think I think this is a permanent deal or a loan with an option to buy or an obligation to buy. But it's really exciting. I think it is that striker they need. Physical as well. He almost is that sort of Jonson Clarke-Harris, but that sort of understudy. Is that a polite way of putting it? I don't think he's going to come in and play every single week. Maybe they change the system and play up there. But I remember us linked to him over in his Boreham Wood days. It was really quite exciting. So I think we will see some goals from the lad that's just joined Peterborough United. And yes, I am avoiding you pronounce his name because I just think I'm going to get it wrong.
Pronouncing whose name?
Shimanga.
There we go. And that was me that said that. That came through my mic.
Shimanga's not a difficult one to say.
I managed to get how'd you say it, Pepe? What's his name? Just joined Lincoln.
Yeah. I'm glad Pepe knows how to say because I've been struggling for the last sort of week that we've been linked with him to figure it out.
Just ignore the T, Jack, and say the rest of it, and then you're all sorted. That's how you do it. The T throws you off, mate.
We've had the conversation with him now, so we haven't got to come back to it. It's a good signing, that one.
Moving on, are we? Okay. Move on very swiftly.
I reckon, Unless any more opinions as well. I saw Jake nodding a couple of times. Good signing, Jake?
Yeah, I think he's a great player. I mean, Posh have got a habit, haven't they, of picking strikers out of non-league football. You think of Dwight Gale, Britta Sombalonga, that sort of striker. So, yeah, I think that when Clarke-Harris has maybe got himself knackered after 60 minutes and they're looking for something else, and he's the right player to come on and give Peterborough that threat up top because his goal record speaks for itself, really.
Yeah, I think it will be a really, really good pickup. I think it's a sensible purchase as well. I think it's one of those where you're looking at fitting someone who can almost mould Jonson Clarke-Harris. And also as well, I think if they don't get promoted, it's a big if. You've then got somebody, if Jonson Clarke-Harris does go, because I wonder, will Clarke-Harris stay in League One if they don't get promoted? Again, that is a question, of course, for the summer. But will someone like him be able to come straight in? He's got now, 6 months or so from January to the end of the season to almost ease his way into that starting 11 or certainly become a regular part of that Peterborough United squad. Maybe he can be that replacement in the summer if things don't work out. I just seen someone say as well, when we go around the clubs, we'll probably do that a little bit later. We've got some sort of breaking news coming up. We definitely will go around the clubs and chat about the multiple business that we've seen.
Can I just add some breaking news that is it's not quite breaking news, but I think it's probably an important topic of conversation for us to discuss. That is the news that Harvey White has actually been confirmed now at Derby County. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'd love to hear what Jake thinks of him, because I know I gave a little bit and piece of what I had seen from him and what he was like at Pompey. But Jake, what can you? I mean, he made a Premier League appearance just a few weeks ago, and he's now in part of Paul Warne's setup, which very very much looks exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've not personally seen him. I think he was at Pompey when we weren't in the same league, so not someone I've seen live in the flesh. But from all accounts, a really promising youngster coming through at Spurs. Had a great spell at Pompey, and I watched the game against Crystal Palace where he came on. Thought he did okay. Didn't look out of his depth whatsoever. And he's gone to Derby, who are probably the most informed side in the entire division. So, any player going into that sort of setup with the facilities that Derby have got in League One, it's a no-brainer. And if Tottenham are thinking he's going to go there and get a load of games, I think Max Bird got injured in the FA Cup game against West Ham last night, and I think Derby have reacted really well by bringing White in. So, fingers crossed it can work for him. Obviously, a young player that will need confidence, but if he can, play well in front of that Derby crowd when they have 28,000 people in there, then it's going to do that kid the world of good, and he'll go back to Tottenham a completely different player.
Remember White, Pepe?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, he was. I think he started. I did a story on him being linked this morning with 2 Championship sides and then 2 League One sides, and Derby wasn't one of them. So that's sort of. Sorry, I'm still getting over my sore throat that ruined me on Sunday.
That's Peterborough, mate. That's the problem.
That was terrible. I can't believe you just stuck the camera in my face, and that was terrible.
I thought you enjoyed it. I thought it was a lovely moment. My favourite part of the video, that was.
It was. Oh, it was. Yeah, a little cameo. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about Harvey White, and Harvey White is, he's a solid signing now. He's obviously had a few more games in the Premier League 2 for Tottenham, the Papa John's Trophy, and he's a different player to what he was 2 years ago when he played for Pompey. And it was great when he came. He started 6 games, had 22 appearances for Pompey. A solid player. And obviously, Danny Cowley talked about bringing him back. He really liked him. Obviously, he came in under Kenny Jackett, so you'd wondered how that fared. But Cowley really liked him, and there was talk of him maybe coming back. And then obviously, 12 months ago, on this day, Danny Cowley was looking for another centre midfielder, and Harvey White's name cropped up again. But obviously, that didn't come to fruition. And yeah, he's got a couple more games under his belt now for Tottenham's first team, and yeah, the sky's the limit now. And if he can get a run of games in at Derby, he could become a really, really solid player.
Just a couple of minutes to go before we reach the hour mark of our 3-hour live stream. So would you believe we're a third of the way there already, which is crazy. That's good news that's flown by. It's just a little bit nervous because as the hours tick by and there's a bit of a lack of Paddy Lane, I'm a little bit. Don't get nervous, that kind of thing. Leo would like to know: is there any news of a Lowry return, Pepe? What can you tell us?
Not really too much, to be honest.
I
think we're in the dark as anyone else at the moment. They're keeping it very, very under wraps. We still don't really know. I haven't heard anything personally. I don't know if any of my colleagues do.
Hang on a second, everybody. We have a teaser video.
We got a teaser.
We have a teaser video from. Sorry, Jack. This is completely turning into a Pompey stream.
No, it's breaking news. Well, we're quite quiet, so it's Octa's fault.
It's breaking news, and I think we've got. What I'll try and do is get it up on the screen for you.
Put the music on, Tom. Put your music on.
I don't know if it's literally just a video of the management office in the dark.
I think Max Swatton's been preparing himself for some Beatles. He's been listening to the Beatles, and it's
we have to be very careful with copyright, but I can confirm that is a Beatles song. So yes,
I think it's time to get Here We Go.
I think it is time to get Here We Go. Oh, mate, I need to get that picture on the screen of you.
That's what I was just about to say.
Let me try and find it. You
I know
tweet away.
I've seen it as well. I think finally been announced. You can see 9 o'clock looks to be when that's going to officially be announced. But it took time. But who was panicking? You were. No one was panicking. Tom wasn't panicking. Believe it or not.
I had a little comment just as I was panicking. It then all of a sudden, I don't need to panic no longer, which is good news. And yes. Right on cue. If you're in the dark about it, ladies and gentlemen, people have kind of picked up on it in the comments across both Jack and my channel. And I think we're all going to be singing a couple of chants about a certain Paddy Lane while we go and add some overlays to the channel, and I'll get Pepe's face on. I'll say a very good evening to Brendan, who joins us live here. I don't know, Jack, do we want to do that, or do we want to be further away? What would you like to do?
I don't mind. Actually, I think that looks all right. That's fine. Both look fine.
We'll be nice and closer. Good evening, mate. How are we? Welcome.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Yourself? How are we all doing?
Well, we're just a couple of moments, Brendan, from the announcement of Paddy Lane as the brand new signing at Portsmouth Football Club. What's your reaction?
Yeah, decent actually. It's a great signing for the club. Being League One's young player of the season last year in League One. So yeah, you can't get much better than that. And I'm looking forward to seeing him, how he fits into our squad, what Messina's going to do with him.
We've obviously had the bad news, and here he is. Paddy's here, everybody. And we've obviously had the bad news. I won't do that again, I promise. We've obviously had the bad news earlier on about Giovanni. Jake's still laughing about Giovanni Brown no longer coming to the football club. Brendan, does that at all concern you when the messaging was, if we need to go and get the player, the money's there for it? Maybe he didn't end up being the player. Who knows? Yeah,
it's a bit disappointing. I think I saw one of the Exeter fans or Exeter news Twitter accounts put out saying that they wanted more than just a fee for him. They might have wanted a replacement as well. So obviously people were saying, "Oh no, this is the one for Rico." Take him out of the Lincoln deal and send him off to Exeter instead. But I don't know. It's not a straight swap there for Brown and Rico particularly. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Again, trying to steal somebody in January at the 11th hour isn't always the best thing to do. A bit like Cowley last year trying to get the Rotherham player. When we tried to give him 150k in the last minute, he's like, "Well, what?" Then the manager's like, "Well, what am I supposed to do with all this money now? If you gave me a week ago, then I could have done something with it, but now I can't."
Is it time, Pepe? Can I do we wait?
Do we wait? It's up to you. I think everybody I think everybody knows who it is. So,
well, Tom, who are you signing, mate?
I don't know. I haven't got a clue. It's not
could you imagine if Admin's just popped out Giovanni Brown?
That'd be amazing.
It wouldn't be, because it's the Beatles music, isn't it? But I mean, the night's still young. The night's still young. Well, we'll give it another sort of a 40 seconds or so. In the meantime, welcome along, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's lovely to have your company this evening. We're live. We've done an hour. We're now on the home stretch for the next 2 hours or so. Thank you for being with us across Jack's channel, across Fournilwrittenalloverit, and of course on Facebook as well. That merry band of 11 is still with us, so welcome to the 11 people on Facebook. I'm hearing that Sam Lavelle is set to join Burton Albion. Burton Albion have also confirmed in the last hour that Charlie Kirk is joining them for the remainder of the 2022-23 season from Charlton Athletic. So still a lot of activity at the Valley this evening.
But busy, aren't they? Really, really busy. I think they're just a centre-back set to go to Wrexham, I believe, as well. That was it was a rumour anyway. I say set. I think that was O'Connor. I think Wrexham was a potential move for them. But lots of ins and outs for Charlton this season. They left it quite late. But I think there's an interview quite early on with Charlton. They were sort of expecting quite a busy transfer window. They want to sort of rebuild after quite a disappointing first half of the season. But new manager, of course, Dean Holden in the building. He wants to sort of get some fresh faces in and some, let's say, dead wood, if a polite way of putting it out. I think they are doing that.
Yes, it's time, everybody. Here we go. It's time. And Jack, if you don't mind, I'm going to do the honours because we've been waiting to do it all evening. Everybody get ready. Here we go. Bit of Mike Oldfield. Here he comes.
How lovely.
Lovely. Love it. Love it.
Love it.
Love it. What's your reaction, Jake? Paddy Lane.
I've got many thoughts for young nappers in a hospital bed who's probably crying at this moment in time. Paddy Lane's left Fleetwood.
He loves them, doesn't he?
He absolutely. Yeah, I remember when we played Fleetwood at the start of the season. He scored a goal against us. It looked really handy, and the boy's a talented player. I think he was linked to Brighton a year ago. That movement never materialised, and there's definitely been Championship interest in him. So I think for him to come to Pompey, I'm not sure what the fee is going to be. I can imagine that there might be a substantial fee involved. Again, I'm not too sure, but if you guys are needing someone to come and play on the right hand side, down the left hand side, then there's not many better players in League One than Paddy Lane ultimately.
Good signing.
Jack, what do you reckon?
I think it is a really good signing. Like you say there, he fits the bill, doesn't he? I think you needed that sort of extra addition in those wide areas. Ronan Curtis, it's an injury, isn't it? Ronan Curtis just picked up as well. So you are short a little bit on those wide areas. I think it's a sensible pickup for you there. I say sensible. It's quite an exciting one, but it does definitely fit the criteria you're looking at. Sorry, really quick interruption as well from an Oxford perspective. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, we are active. Apparently we are in League One still doing transfer business. As it stands, not being told, I say that, we're not apparently. As it stands, not being told to be on alert for anything, but it's deadline day, so certainly won't be switching off completely until 1 minute past 11. So seemed a little bit quiet over at the Oxford United front as well. We signed, of course, 2 players in the last 2 days, 1 player on deadline day, but I still feel we're missing a player, maybe midfielder. It looks to be a centre-back staying at the clubs. That doesn't seem to be a replacement needed. Of course, Stuart Finley was linked with the return to Scotland, but it looks as though it's quiet on the Oxford front. But Pompey, I mean, you've been doing some business, and Paddy Lane's the latest addition.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope I'm allowed to do this, but I'd quite like to play the reveal video for everybody, just for the benefit of those who might not have seen it. But in the words of the great Pepe Lacey, here we go. Here comes it actually mirrors the cult. I don't know if it's going to get rid of as well. He's a gorgeous man, isn't he? Nice to see.
I've just seen a tweet. I think this sums it up pretty perfectly. Although the reaction has been quite good. Someone saying just because we missed out on Giovanni Brown doesn't undermine how good a signing this is. Like, this is a really top quality signing, and I think we don't know if they've missed out on Giovanni Brown, but it's pointed towards they won't be going for a deal in the final 2 hours. But this is a top quality signing. He was rumoured to make a £2 million move to Brighton in the summer. He was also hotly tipped to join West Ham. So he's joining Premier League clubs 6 months ago. Like, they were interested. There was strong interest, but that never came to fruition. 8 assists, 5 goals, I think it was last season. League One's Young Player of the Season. Fleetwood's Player of the Season. He ticks a lot of boxes. He's 21 years old, obviously. That's what Pompey are looking to sign, and this could revolutionise Pompey's attack. This could be what they've been crying out for: a pacey winger on the left. Although Curtis under Mousinho's looked really good, I think this will really test him. And obviously, he can play on the right, he can play on the left, and he can play as a number 10 just behind the striker. So you've got a versatile forward on your hands, and Pompey have got a really good player for. We don't know how much it is, but it's an undisclosed.
Yeah, we got any idea on that? It's undisclosed. Have we got any idea? Because I mean, a heavy fee to Brighton sounds like it could be a fairly decent fee. And we're talking about maybe ambition at Portsmouth. And I'm going to tread quite carefully here, but like you say there, you've got to spend decent money. This won't be a cheap buy for someone, again, who's young and, like I say, linked to a move in the Premier League. They were definitely going to be spending upwards of £1 million in the summer, from what we know. So, I mean, I'm not saying you spent that much money on him now, but again, we're only 6 months down the line, Pepe. So, it's not too far away.
I fully agree, and I heard someone speak earlier that he was linked. It was rumoured to be £2 million to Brighton. That was never confirmed. It was just out there. Pompey will not be paying that much for a player like that. There's no way Pompey is spending £2 million for a guy on deadline day.
It's only 500 grand for Colby, wasn't it? So
yeah, exactly, and that's what I feel. Unless we know when the figures come out in due course, then we can know. But we're just estimating. It's just an undisclosed fee at the moment, and there's nothing really to suggest it. But when you do look at that interest 6 months ago, you think Pompey have actually they've put their money where their mouth is really, and have really gone big. And I think you've really got to praise the Eisners. I know they've come under stick, but this is a really top quality signing.
3.5-year deal as well, to put on the screen there. So it's a long-term contract. Well, coming back to Brighton, I mean, you can't really knock Brighton's transfer record normally, can you? So if they're interested in a player, I think you can be fairly confident that Brighton are looking at some decent names. If he was on their list, then it sounds quite exciting. But 3.5-year deal for Paddy Lane, so a long-term contract, clearly someone for the future. And again, I'm going to be careful what I say as well, but you've also, and it's not what any fan wants to hear, but you're actually looking at reinvestment in that contract as well. You've got 3.5-year deals in there. If Brighton and West Ham do come in, maybe 2 seasons down the line, you've got him a longer term contract there. You can sort of reinvest that money and also maybe get a little bit, you'd expect a profit from it. I imagine it probably will be a profit if you're selling him on. As well, just coming back, just any really to the Portsmouth fans, probably going to Brendan as well. This is a big statement for John Messina as well. His first transfer window, you know, to bring in someone like this on his first transfer window, he'll be happy. Does that show a sort of ambition as well? Is that the owners and the CEO saying, right, we're here to back a manager who wasn't maybe first choice, but we're still going to back him with our transfers, you know, even if he wasn't that number one choice that everyone was speaking about when Danny Cowley got the sack?
Yeah, I definitely say so. I think there has been a lot of flack towards the Eisners and towards Cullen, and I think wanted to show ambition, and I think this has put that nail in the ground now, being like, yes, he's the guy we want, and he's one here for the future. Look, him and Tom Lowry now are 2 very similar length contracts, and that could be the future of Pompey central midfield. And maybe we've mentioned about buying players young and honing their craft and then selling them for a profit in the future. If that comes to him and he goes to a championship side, that's fantastic. A bit like we did with Jamal Lowe when he was at the club, and we went and sold him for a big chunk of change as well with Matt Clark. I can only see positives from this, and hopefully he's got that bit of quality to get us out of the division. If not this season, maybe definitely next season.
Nappers is alive. Ben is alive. He's spoken out. Just one word. Thoughts go out to him.
I think that does say quite a lot about his thoughts on that.
Plain and simple. I don't know if this would be beneficial, but to those who might not have seen it, John Messina's comments regarding the arrival of Paddy Lane, he said, "We're delighted to bring Paddy to the club. He's a fantastic young player who can not only impact the squad now, but also has huge potential. As soon as he came on our radar, we're extremely excited about the prospect of him working with him here. One of the most important things for us was that he was really keen on coming to Pompey, and we got some excellent references. Paddy has a lot of guile and can beat players, while he has a wand of a left foot that our fans will love to see. But that also, they've also seen. Sorry, I'm having an absolute mare here. But they've already seen to their detriment when he scored for Fleetwood at Fratton Park last season. That was an absolute humdinger, by the way, wasn't it? I don't know if
is that the one went through Bazuni's hands?
Yes, that was the one.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's gone on to say Paddy's a really clever player with excellent ability, and we believe he has a bright future ahead of him. Lane progressed through the ranks at Hyde after arriving from Blackpool as a teenager, and his appearances in the non-league attracted the interest of Fleetwood. He signed for the Cod Army in the summer of 2021 and netted at Cambridge in just his 3rd outing for the club. And at the end of the season, as we mentioned earlier on the stream, Lane was named League One's Young Player of the Season at the EFL Awards, whilst also being voted as a top performer by his club's own supporters. So, good news, and actually nothing to suggest tonight that is it from a Pompey point of view either. There's also nothing to suggest that will not be it, but there's also will be it. Sorry, but there's nothing to suggest that it won't be either. Let's get your reaction in the comments. Then Stephen said, "Great signing. Can't wait to see him on Saturday." Miltos says, "Good evening, lads." And Paddy Lane on a 3.5-year contract is a sweet bit of business. Would have liked Brown, obviously, but Pompey's business has exceeded my expectations. Anyway, Jack has said we don't have Andy Moon. That was last 4-0 Sunday Live. If you want to go back and watch that.
I was on that as well.
Yes, of course. But more importantly, Pepe, the question is, can we go to bed? What do you reckon?
I'm not sure.
I don't think we're sure.
I'm not saying yes and I'm not saying no, but we've all seen a story that's been put out that Exeter are not looking to sell Giovanni Brown. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, but that's not to say.
What is all I'm going to say to that?
There's the other lad too. There's a few other names that have been bounded around from a Pompey point of view that I've seen. Aaron said we've got 2 out of 3 of our key targets today and improved our weak areas. This has been a cracking window in his opinion. So there we go. Jake, I remember you quite. I'm sorry to make this all about Pompey, Jack, and we will get on to other stuff. We've got plenty of time to get on to other things, and we won't spend the whole night talking.
Don't worry about it. I'm enjoying it.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I am as well, oddly. Your thoughts this morning, Jake? I remember you saying how if the three were to come out and about in terms of Pompey signings, that it would be a really fantastic window. 2 out of 3 ain't bad either, though, is it?
No. Obviously, if you can get Giovanni Brown over the line, then that shows that you've really backed Musinho in what he's only been in the building 2 weeks now. So for him to have such a dictation on signings, obviously, if he's been able to get these two in, Bernard, who had a really good spell at Hull, I thought when I'm pretty sure he was at Hull when they got promoted out of this league. It was phenomenal for them that season because we were competing at the top end of League One with them, and I thought it was brilliant. And then obviously Paddy Lane, who we've spoken about at length before. So I think for John, I think John will be happy to be back to the way he has, and then for you to get 2 out of the 3, maybe don't go to bed yet, as maybe you've alluded to, but. It's interesting because the thing is with the transfer window and deadline day is a name could come out in the next 10 minutes and you could, Pompey could go and thrash out a deal in half an hour. That's what makes deadline day so interesting. And ultimately, we're not too sure. But yeah, I'm sure you guys as Pompey fans are pretty happy about the window, I can imagine.
The one and only Napper's mum joins us live on YouTube tonight as well, which is great to see. Good evening to you, Jill. Thank you for being with us. And we would have loved Ben's reaction, of course, to this news. And I'm sure it's great to hear he's on the mend, but it's not so great to hear that he's going to be a little bit upset about the news that Paddy Lane's coming down to Pompey. But at least to be able to come down to Fratton Park on an away day at some point soon and come and see him in the famous blue and white. Brendan.
I will endeavour on Saturday after the game to get a selfie with young Paddy Lane and send it to Nappers. So we're saying that we're thinking of him.
By way of consolation, absolutely.
In the wounds, man.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd appreciate that massively, but yeah, but we'll see. At least you're thinking of him, Brendan. That's good to see.
Of course.
Have we seen Burton, Tom? Burton
yes.
has signed Ghassan Ahadme back from Ipswich.
Have they?
Again, wow.
Wow, that's quite exciting, isn't it?
Only on loan to the end of the season. Obviously, he played some games earlier on in the year for Burton and went to Ipswich, had a couple of games, and obviously he could only go back to Burton, but he's returned on a loan deal until the end of the season, which I think for Burton is absolutely massive. That's the striker that they would have craved after selling Adebayo to Bolton.
Do you think that's a kind of a what's the word for it? Development move from Ipswich?
I don't think so. I think Ipswich they've brought 2 strikers in the building already this month, haven't they? They probably just needed to get one out.
Right.
They've got a plethora of attacking force, haven't they? You've got Ladapo, Harness, Hurst, Broadhead now that we've said. Caden Jackson's another one. So, yeah, I think Ahadme probably needed to get out for his own good, and he's only a young lad still. So if he can, go back to Burton, develop there a little bit, and go back to Ipswich maybe in the summer when they've cleared things up. If disaster strikes and they've not gone up, then he's certainly not a bad option to have in League One again, is he?
Sorry, just going back to Pompey. Sorry, Pepper. Yeah,
Sorry.
I might be saying the same. Sorry, I might be saying the same thing. Don't worry, Pepper. You go ahead.
Neil Allen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've just seen that.
Just tweeted that as it stands, that is likely to be it for Pompey this window. But of course, there is the possibility of late drama. So cannot rule it out like you just put it up there, Tom. So as it stands, that is likely to be it for Pompey.
Someone reckons you're hiding something, Pepe. I agree. I agree.
Neil Allen knows a lot more than I do. He's tweeted that, so don't shoot the messenger. I'm not.
Well, I mean, he hasn't, without me wanting to seem a little bit sort of clinging on. Tantalising possibility of late drama is something that gets
as it stands
really
in capital
excited.
letters as well. As it stands, that can always change as well.
Exactly.
Another update as well on Charlton. Sam Lavelle is set to join Burton Albion. So Burton with some late deadline day drama. They're sort of at any point trying to bring some players in to try and keep their hopes of safety alive. But Sam Lavelle, of course, currently centre half at Charlton, looks to be joining Burton Albion. I think from what we're hearing that is, I don't know whether it's a permanent deal or not. I imagine probably permanent, but we'll see what happens there. But sort of, I think adding to the defensive ranks there with Sam Lavelle joining Burton Albion. That's set to be announced.
Can I just say, really important, we get back to this one as well. Ben's mum saying the love and support means everything and more. And I don't know if you would have seen the extent of it, actually, Jill, but there was an unbelievably overwhelming support I think it was Thursday evening, Jake, that you sent me a message saying there was a genuine concern over Ben, and literally my phone didn't stop all night in terms of people sending their love, and I'm sure Jake was the same. So we're really excited to getting Ben back at the football and getting back on YouTube as well, doing exactly what he does best and connecting with so many as he always does. Sorry, Pepe, you're gonna say something then?
Sorry, I'm just seeing these comments down the side. Andy Moon's tweet 6 minutes ago is a fake. You've all been parried by Mr. Andrew Moon 154.
Hence why it's not on your screen.
Hence why it's not on your screen. You have been fooled.
Yes. And so's Gaz, because it's just come up on my phone saying Gaz Guinness likes this. I'm like, oh, Gaz. Oh, Gaz. Yes, he might be joining us later as well, so we'll see.
Yes, you have been fooled. There will be... That is Andy Moon saying... That is not Andy Moon saying, don't go to bed just yet. That is a parody, so don't believe that.
There's also another Andy Moon called at EFL Transfer 1 that was a couple of hours ago.
Yeah,
people just nicking his profile picture, and it's like you gotta be so careful, aren't you? Because I don't want to put one up and and it be the wrong thing. But
I'll have a word with him to make sure he gets a verification, because then when he does get verified,
I was going to say,
can't prank him.
Exactly, get that sorted as quickly as you can. He should have it, because he's got 10,000 followers on Instagram. But there we go. Brendan, now the news has settled in a little bit. How are you feeling about Pompey's window thus far, with an hour and 43 minutes to go?
I'm happy. I think the 4 signings we've made, going into it, we sacked Danny on was it day after New Year's Day, and it took us 15 days to put a manager in place, and we all thought, well, that's it. No, it's too little, too late for us to do anything. But I thought we got Towler in nice and early. That was one that Cowley touted beforehand. Obviously, the Richie Hughes liked the look of and wanted to pursue it and bring him in, which I thought was a brilliant idea, because Towler's really shown how good he is. Then Macy, again, another established goalkeeper who's been through the leagues, been in League One, Championship, and then all the way through to Arsenal Academy, and also up in Scotland. He's done very well. I said we're not seeing much of Bernard, but I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. Obviously, he's got a bit of a glowing review from yourselves and from Hull fans. Got a friend of mine's a Hull fan, and he said he was mustard for them, got stuck in, and good ball player. And now Paddy Lane in. I couldn't think of anything. Well, no, obviously you could think of better, but in our current situation, he's a very good one. And seeing a former Pompey loanee, who's signed for Derby County today, and Harvey White, it's good for him. It's a good move for him, I think, for his development. Oh, I wasn't sure if you mentioned it at all, him signing for Derby.
We spoke about it earlier on. Yes, the news that they completed the signing of Tottenham midfield, and we also spoke about what he did for us as well at Pompey, which is he did an awful. Well, he made an impression, didn't he, for certain? And I felt like we've maybe been a little bit of a disconnect, because it was more lockdown games where he was playing.
He scored against that lot, didn't he?
He did. Yes, he did score against these boys over here. Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
It did, which we oddly very quickly glossed over earlier on when that came up, Brendan. So I'm glad you've brought that back up again. Right,
we were linked to him earlier as well. Which even more,
yes, they were. He was
Barnsley as well. I think there was a name Barnsley also in there as well.
There was a few, yeah. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Nice to have you with us tonight. We're here till Jack and I made a little bit of a truce to each other earlier on, that we were going to be here till 11 if there's sort of nothing that we're imminently expecting, but if maybe 5 past 11 something gets announced and we know that there's something coming up the garden path, then we will stick around and be with you for that. Just to give you a bit of an idea of what we've still got to come tonight, Alfie, who's a Cambridge fan, is going to come on and tell us all about Cambridge United and their transfer window, and a certain Michael Morrison I'm sure will come up in conversation. One of our own, Alex Griffin, will be joining us at about 10 o'clock this evening, hopefully. So that'll be nice to speak to him about Ipswich throwing money at it yet again and hoping for the best. And we'll see how that goes down for them. And I think we might have a Plymouth fan come and join us at some point as well this evening. So we've still got plenty to
come.
Plenty to chat through. Anything that you spotted on your scrolling, Jack, in the last couple of minutes?
I want to touch a little bit on Fleetwood. We spoke about Paddy Lane, but on the other side of it, they've actually had a quite good window, actually. I'm quite impressed by Fleetwood Town. I think we all knew the striker situation was one that needed to be resolved. And I think they've gone out and yesterday a double signing, Jack Marriott from Peterborough United and Jaden Stockley from Charlton Athletic. I think for me, they're some really, really good additions. They're established in the Football League. Jaden Stockley this season, not an amazing amount of goals scored, but he is a physical presence. He is somebody that actually in a Fleetwood Town and Scott Brown system might work quite well. And Jack Marriott, we all know, I remember it, that Derby County goal against Leeds United. That's the one that comes to mind. But he has got a really good record in the Football League. So two quite sensible signings as well. I've got some other names in there, but I think when you look at Fleetwood and when you look at the expectations and the hopes going into this January transfer window, it was going to be that centre forward. And for me, interested to see what everyone else got to say. Although Paddy Lane is out and that will be a blow, they have recruited and added areas I think they needed to strengthen. Interested to see your thoughts. Jake, I'll come to you, of course, in regular conversation, as we all are with Nappers. Of course, he won't be very happy about the Paddy Lane departure, but the players they've come in, I think they can be fairly pleased with it.
Yeah, Ben is actually pretty pleased with the two strikers that they've brought in. What are the finances are behind those deals? I wouldn't know. I would expect them both to have been substantial six-figure fees, perhaps for Marriott and Stockley. You think that it's pretty much the League One Crouch and Defoe, isn't it, of the Pompey years? So it's going to be interesting. Actually, I think Stockley might suit the style a bit more than Jack Marriott. Obviously, depending on if Scott Brown's going to switch it up, but no, I think they're two sensible pieces of business. Fleetwood have an issue with scoring goals, and to sign those two, proven League One goal scorers, then I don't think there's anything bad you can say about the signings. Obviously, maybe you're thinking that they're not really long-term signings that Fleetwood have made in the past. You're thinking of Promise on the Cherry that come over from Ireland, Kean Hayes. Fleetwood have had this ethos of bringing up through the academy, AK like Paddy Lane, and bringing players in from non-league. So it's gone against recent ethos, but if Scott Brown can get a tune out of those two, then Fleetwood are going to score a lot of goals between now and the season's conclusion, I would imagine.
Yeah, smart business. I think that's what comes to mind. Also, quite ambitious as well, because they are permanent transfers. That's important to say as well. They're not loan signings of the players that will be coming in and really, I think, helping towards this Scott Brown evolution or revolution, shall I say, at Fleetwood Town. So you've got anything to say other than that? I think there's one interesting question I'll ask Jake as well. Shadipo is not just coming along, but he is the list of players. We had Shadipo a couple of seasons ago, Oxford United. Interested to see what's going to happen with that one, because Oxford, I think he's a little bit of an inconsistent player, but actually scored quite a few goals for Oxford in the end. A little bit in and out. I think when he sometimes could hide a little bit away, but I'm interested to see that. I didn't see until I went through these sides here. Shadipo has joined a loan from QPR. So I think he's exciting, he's quick, but I think he's a little bit in and out of the game. But I think that's an interesting pickup. It certainly does help you on the flanks.
Yeah, we've not seen much of Mide at the moment. He came on for 15 minutes away at MK Dons and also played at Cambridge on Saturday, 2-0 games, so probably not the best for an attacking player to make an entrance in. Obviously, you mentioned Shadipo. Obviously, a good player, was quick. I think he'll help defensively. Obviously, we've also signed Luke Plange on loan from Crystal Palace. That's a pretty big one from a Lincoln City point of view. That's one we're all excited about as well. So it's interesting. Shadipo's obviously a good player, got good pedigree coming through at QPR and Oxford, and then at Sheffield Wednesday. He had a better time of it at Oxford than he did at Wednesday. But
yeah, a long injury at Wednesday.
Yeah, down to injuries, and that's what the consensus has been there. But when perhaps he gets some run of games under his belt, if he can cement a start in place, then definitely an asset for us in the future, and maybe one that we even look to pick up permanently in the summer window.
Definitely. Tom, any breaking news you've seen while we've been chatting about, I think, some quite impressive Fleetwood and Lincoln business, really?
Yeah, not much breaking news, to be honest with you. But just to say hello to Dylan and welcome to the stream. There's a load of people that are actually... Pepe's quite a smiley man.
I'm just naturally smiling.
He's very smiley, and everyone's trying to get something out of Pepe. And every time he sees a comment, he kind of smiles, and it kind of is.
That's what I've just sent you a message off. I've just said they're trying to get it out of me.
They're trying to get it out of you, but I'm just to be honest,
a smiley person.
There's probably nothing to get out of him. Well, it might be. We don't know. I'm not speaking on behalf of Pepe, but at the same time, I doubt that there's anything that Pepe would know.
I think we've got to be realistic here, Tom. There's an hour and a half to go in the transfer window, and everything's been sort of put out there, and we all sort of know it. Apparently, I've been drinking. I haven't been. I've been awake since 7 o'clock this morning. That's pure.
He's been
work.
busy. He's been a busy man.
It was that big smile on the concourse on your video, Tom, wasn't it, as well?
It's a good bit. It was a good bit.
Yeah, the big smile on Pepe's face, wasn't it, in the concourse?
Best part of the video.
I was at that stage 30 hours without sleep. I decided to do an all-nighter Friday night and then went to decided it'd be a good idea to go Peterborough away and carry on drinking. So that was a good weekend of it was a long weekend.
We'd be sort of getting on to the unprofessional if I revealed what Pepe was messaging me about. We won't say that. We'll move on.
Mate,
we'll move on quite significantly.
I think we do need to move on. I don't remember what I've messaged you.
No, well, I do, but that's.
Let's try and keep his career intact, guys.
Come on,
yeah.
I did want to say there was an interesting comment on here from Luna who said Fleetwood knew Lane was coming to us and got their targets in. It's a good point actually. But whether they've actually kind of gone, Paddy Lane's out the building. There was obviously Jake. You might be able to shed a bit more light on this than we might be able to. But Scott Brown not really fancying Paddy Lane. Is that a fair assessment?
That was the sort of conversation that I had with Nappers at the start of the season when Fleetwood came to Lincoln. I think it was to do with an attitude problem. I think he was expecting to get his move in the summer. Obviously, that didn't materialise for one reason or another, and Paddy sort of put his bottom lip down and had a bit of a sulk, which under Scott Brown, you can imagine, who's the ultimate professional during his time at Celtic. I can't imagine that's gone down too well with him. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, one hell of a player, but if he's got attitude problems, then, that sort of comes with the baggage, doesn't it? And Pompey might deal with that one way or another in a couple of years when it comes to him leaving Fratton Park. So, I think he was out of favour. I think they prefer Keaton Hayes on the right-hand side, who's also one of those that have come through the Fleetwood Academy, who's been fantastic for them for a number of years now. So, won't say he was out of favour. He was definitely coming on and impacting games. Just maybe hasn't got the amount of starts, but that might be due to his attitude. But obviously couldn't comment too much because I'm not in the Fleetwood camp, and I don't want to get either of you to in hot water with Fleetwood.
Well, Ben's mum reckons you talk sense, Jake. So there we go. We take that.
Is that a concern for Portsmouth, the attitude issues? I know, of course, like Jake mentioned there, if a move happens down the line, then he could sort of throw his toys at the pram. But is that a problem for you? Or do you think now he's got that move, that shouldn't be a problem? Focus on the ability that we know he's got. Does that see it as a problem, or are we reading too much into that?
There were people who messaged me when Owen Dale came from Blackpool to us and said that he'd had a bit of an attitude problem. And to be fair, Owen Dale's not really had much competition for his place. He's been a real stalwart, and I'm sure Brendan will be able to give us maybe not a contrasting view, but maybe a slightly different view to what I might be able to give you on Owen Dale. For me, he's been a very good player for us. He's not, there were points where I thought this guy's going to be literally like the best thing we've ever done. When I remember when he scored against, I think it was Bristol Rovers, I want to say. The sort of the one that really sealed the deal for us that day, he had the wind in his sails and he was performing really well. It will be no surprise to you that Owen Dale's kind of dropped off since the team have dropped off, and everyone around him has meant that it's kind of declined, and the overall team performance was completely subpar from Pompey for a number of months, and it's been well documented on this channel, and it's actually been well documented on your channel, Jack, as it goes. So we don't need to get into that too much, but I think there was a concern that Owen Dale's attitude was going to be an issue from a Pompey point of view, and I don't think it has been. But I mean, Paddy Lane, Brendan, looks like he's going to get the place in the starting 11 that he'll be so desiring. So maybe an attitude might not be the first problem on our hands, and getting him firing and assisting and scoring perhaps might be the first thing to get sorted for him.
Yeah, I don't think there'd be much of an attitude problem. As you say, it'll slot straight into that starting 11, as you say. There's people always question other players in our team with their attitudes. Obviously, you mentioned Dale, which I haven't really seen an attitude in him. Because, as you said, he's cemented his place on the right wing, and no one's pushed him off his pedestal at all. Whereas people will then, over the last few years, have been, the last 4 or 5 years he's been at the club, everyone's been slating Curtis on his attitude, on his apparent attitude. I don't see some of the bad attitude in Ronan Curtis. I see someone who wants to do, he's got a heart full of passion and wants to do well for the club. It's never a bad attitude. It's it's a competitive attitude, and he wants to win. And like me, if I'm playing on a Sunday, I want to win. I want to be competitive. So that's what comes out of people. So I don't think that there'll be an issue with him slotting in. And as I said, with people with far bigger egos who've been at the club in the past, and they've been dealt with and, weeded out when needed.
Just some more breaking news on Pompey. The actual Andrew Moon, with no numbers after his name, has said you can go to bed, #Pompey. So I think the Portsmouth transfer front is coming to a close.
Don't forget to read the reply to it, Jack. He did put something else underneath it as well. Come on. Have a look. What did he say? Come on. Got to provide everyone with all the context.
Unless something really crazy happens, which is unlikely.
Right. Well, there we go. We shall see.
You could go to bed, Pompey fans. That is it. An hour and a half until the transfer window does close. I think Portsmouth have completed their business. But of course,
I think Brendan has literally gone to bed there.
Yeah, I did jump on my bed, Jay. I did.
Yeah, that's interesting. But are we happy with the window then? I don't think we've already discussed it generally. But
I think yet, Jack. It's not shut yet, mate. Come on.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't know what you want him to say. I mean, I don't know. But anyway, we'll move on. Just really quick question I say it's a bit of a statement as well, but interested to see what you've got to say. Charlton are selling centre-backs like it's no one's business. O'Connell has gone to Wrexham, pretty much confirmed. Lavelle's gone to Burton, and just to sort of really wrap it up, it looks as though Terrell Thomas is going to Forest Green Rovers. So not many centre-backs left at Charlton, but they are selling a few centre-halves there. I think we're well and truly seeing a bit of a transition when it comes to Dean Holmes, Charlton.
That Terrell Thomas, he was on trial with Pompey in the summer. Played against Gillingham, I think it was.
He's interested. He's off to Forest Green Rovers. So yeah, 3 centre backs leaving on deadline day for Charlton Athletic. I think we had a super chat as well, Tom, didn't we?
Yes. Did you want to go for it?
Yeah, I'll bring up on the screen here. Do your clubs represent respective signings change their season aims and expectations? What else do each club need to try and get done in the last hours? I mean, we can start with Oxford and Pompey, and we can maybe branch out. I think it's quite a broad question anyway. I say your clubs, of course, Lincoln as well. We can get involved with that. For me personally, do your clubs' respective signings change the season's aim and expectations? I mean, for me, probably not. I mean, it's quite hard, but I think our expectations and aims have changed throughout the entire campaign, really. I think we started off with that sort of optimism of being in around the playoffs where we have been in the last couple of years. I think we've been hovering in those positions. And I think, and I don't want to be that Oxford United fan that is towards Carl Robinson's statements too much. I think what he has been saying in recent weeks has been very frustrating. But I think maybe the excitement and the previous finishes are maybe making it a little bit more difficult when we're not in and around it at the moment. We are currently 14. So maybe we're sort of punching above our weight and we're now realising that slightly. Although that isn't a bad excuse. And from a fan, that is never what you want to hear. And I 100% agree with that. So in terms of the signings, I mean, we've brought in 3, 4, I think it's 5 players, sort of 3 that we expect to be straight into that first team. And then a couple of players as well, I think over time will get their chance in there. So for me, probably not really. I think it probably, they bolster. They certainly, they help the attacking area, which is something that we really need. We got that striker. We got that attacking player. We have added depth in defensive areas, which is something that we were looking for. Does it change it? Probably not. And to finish off the question there, what do we need to get done? I'd like another midfielder, maybe a bit more of a defensive midfielder. Alex Gorin is now out for the rest of the season, once again with an ACL. So you're looking at just Marcus McGuane playing in that position. So yeah, maybe midfielder, a holding midfielder, but in terms of ambitions changing, probably not.
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think we needed at least another handful just to, I think, keep smiles on Pompey fans' faces, really. I think we'd been really pleased with the arrival of Riley Towler. We've got an absolute worldie of a goalkeeper in the shape of Matt Macy as well, which we've all been really pleased with his opening couple of appearances, which is good to see. It's really good news. And I think, yes, we would have needed a Paddy Lane. We would have needed 2. And I think there will be no one out there who bleeds blue and white that will say to you, I'm dissatisfied with January transfers as a window as a whole now. As a result, Jake's off to bed. We should all make clear that, yeah, it looks pretty much like this is going to be it now. And I know that Pepe is going to leave us very shortly as well. So I'll come to him on his thoughts. But the main question was, does it change our ambitions? I don't think anyone would really change our ambitions, but maybe it just helps us on the way. And perhaps, you're not all sat here going, right, we're going to make a proper title charge, because if maybe Giovanni Brown had been in the building, we'd probably be saying that. But what do we actually reckon, Pepe?
I think it's been a solid January window. I think you look at Pompey's previous over the last couple of seasons, you go back to the 18-19 catastrophe that really killed off Pompey's promotion hopes.
James
that
Vaughan
season.
January window.
James Vaughan, Lloyd Isgrove, Bryn Morris, that
Big
era.
Solomon at the ball.
Yeah, that one. And you look at this season, and I think they've made 5 signings now, and 3 of them, one of them, on loan, under 23, and that's their plan. That's what they've set out to do. That's what there's a cat appearing.
There is.
Unbelievable.
It's our new centre forward.
As I was saying, they've structured it properly. They haven't gone for players that are like that's going to get us to the playoffs. They're still sticking with the ambition of a long-term plan. Although Bernard is on loan, but he is still 22, so they're still sticking with looking at players under 23, which they want to do, and it's good to see they are still sticking with that focus. Like Paddy Lane, he will be in the team regularly in the start 11. You'd think, and maybe a year and a half, 2 years down the line, Pompey could be getting a couple of million for him, and maybe that's what the ambition is, and that is the plan. I think it's been a really solid transfer, and obviously I know everybody in the comments, they're all like, oh, Giovanni Brown, but forget Giovanni Brown. 5 solid signings. They've got rid of Michael Morrison, Josh Griffiths and Josh Koroma. Yes, they were all underwhelming. It's fair to say that I think they didn't quite live up to their expectations, and they've replaced them properly. They've got cover in every position, and yes, it's a big ask for the playoffs with the form of 3 wins and 18, 3 wins and 17, or whatever it is. But it's positive. I think at 11 o'clock and tomorrow, I think you can look back on the window. Riley Towler, what a signing he's been. Matt Macy, his first 3 games, he's been class. Paddy Lane, he'll be one for the future and will be in the team as well. And that Bernard, he looks like a top quality signing that should be in the Championship from what I've seen. So I think you look back at it, and I think it has been a really good window for Pompey. It's whether now they can really mount a playoff push. Could that happen? I don't know, Tom. Are you feeling the playoffs?
Oh, I've always been feeling the playoffs, mate, since the first ball was kicked on the 20 whatever it was of July.
This is someone that still thinks it's going to be a transfer, by the way, as well. Even though the journalist Portsmouth knows that
the Prodigy has gone to his head. The Prodigy has gone to the head.
I'm just. You can never give up hope, can you?
Sorry, I've just seen a comment. I've been called a scummer. That is not true. I'm very much happy that they are losing. I believe in the Carabao Cup. I'm a Pompey season ticket holder as well when I'm not reporting, so that's an offence.
He has properly bitten that one, hasn't he?
That one hurt.
That one right in there. That one.
I've done a Neil Allen.
That one has not gone down well.
No, it hasn't. No, to be fair, if that was my if anyone else had been accused of it, I think you just need to change your curtains, Pepe. To be honest,
I'm quite proof. I'm seeing proof. I've got a signed David Kitson and David Norris shirt above my head. So
can we have a little look just to confirm?
Yeah, I can't believe you.
There we go. Lovely. There's a bit of proof for you if you need one.
Quickly before you go, Pepe, sorry to interrupt you. Can you give a? Sorry, did you finish the question? I don't want to interrupt what you were going to say for the rest of that. I was going to say, have you got a winner of the window? Sorry, have you got a winner of the window when we look at the entirety of League One? Because I think, of course, we spoke a lot about Portsmouth. We mentioned the other clubs as well. But have you got someone in mind that you'd go, yeah, they've done all right?
Plymouth, I think. They got their business done early. They did really well early doors. I think that they got Jay Matete, who's looked a class above from Sunderland. They got that Tyreek Wright, who a report came out that Pompey inquired, but we hadn't heard anything about that other than some journalists. But I think they've done it well, along with Ipswich. They're both in promotion contention. They're both eyeing promotion, and that's what Pompey should have done 3 years ago when they were in the same position as strengthen properly instead of just throwing players at it, hoping that you can get Bryn Morris and Andy Cannon to replace Ben Thompson, which is just ludicrous. But yeah, I think Plymouth probably. But then if you look at it lower down the table, Burton have obviously had a strong end to the window. Fleetwood as well. I know they obviously lost Paddy Lane, but yeah, I think Burton, Fleetwood, and Plymouth are probably my three at the moment that have probably stood out the most.
There was
the only negative with Plymouth, sorry, is Morgan Whittaker going.
Yeah, there is that, but they have sort of replaced that. I think have they replaced him? Or?
Yeah, I mean they've brought a sort of abundance of attacking players, like you mentioned there. Wright's come in, Ben Wayne's a player from New Zealand, I believe. So yeah, they've strengthened. Like you said, they're aside top of the table going into a January transfer window. The worst you can do is sit on that and hope that you can sort of continue that momentum. But they've actually made sure they can't sit still and they're going to go again. So other than Morgan Whittaker, I probably agree. They really have strengthened when they're on top.
Yeah. I've just sent another question. I keep being asked this. I thought I answered it. Tom Lowry. I don't know anything about Tom Lowry. I'm sorry. No one knows about Tom Lowry. The only thing I saw was at the training ground last week. I saw him in a group run, if that helps. In a group run around the training pitch. That's all I know.
You've got something now. That is all they need.
I'm not sure Tom knows himself.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a weird one. I don't think he's so. It's been amazing how 3 weeks before Louis Thompson broke his leg, Tom Lowry got injured, and Louis Thompson's now back starting for Pompey. That's a very simultaneous water drink there from Pepe and Brendan. They've both done it symmetrically as well. That was a tremendous watch.
A red bottle. Watch me go.
Oh yeah, it hasn't got a blue lid on it.
Which mine's blue?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, Lowry. All that we need to say about Tommy Lowry is, he's super Tommy Lowry, isn't he? How does the chant go? Tommy, he's the man for me. There you go. That's what I was thinking of. He's the man for me.
Charlie Patino song. What a chant that is.
It's a great chant. Yeah. And I was gonna. There was something that crossed my mind when we were talking about obviously Morgan Whittaker Plymouth chat. We will have in a moment or two. Archie's having a couple of issues with the link, but I'm determined to get him on, so we'll try and speak to him in a moment. I know that Aaron will be joining us shortly as well, so that'll be good to see. And yes, there was what was it I was going to talk about? I can't remember now. It's completely gone out of my mind. It was something to do with Pompey as it goes. Funnily enough, I tell you what, Brendan, why don't we chat? Pepe, if you need to go, you feel free to
no, I'm quite happy to stay at the moment. I'd said any time around 10, but I'm
I thought you said in the next 10. Okay. That's
no, I said no. I said around 10.
Brendan, are you at all concerned if? And it's a big if that Sean Raggett might not be part of this back line now that we've had the arrival of someone who I don't think we've mentioned too much is Dishon, who's joined us from Manchester United. That would be a very youthful back line at Pompey, wouldn't it? I mean, you've got Zach Swanson, who I'd spoke at pretty much the top of the stream when it was myself and Jack getting ready to bring our host of guests in this evening. It's a pretty youthful back line. Swanson already making a mistake away at Peterborough, which we were talking about just before Pepe joined us earlier on, comes about as a result of him not quite playing the ball in the way that he would have wanted to. You've then obviously got the youthfulness, as we've already been mentioning, about Riley Towler, who's another arrival in January, twinned with Bernard from Manchester United. And then the only real sort of bit of experience that you've got is Conor Ogilvie. But even that is not, it's not an abundance, and it's not like Conor Ogilvie's old. What do you think? Pretty prone to mistakes, or nice to see some flary boys who are confident with their football and looking forward to playing on the front foot?
Again, it's a bit of both, isn't it? You've got to think of it like, yes, they're young. Yes, they probably will make mistakes. When we're playing football, playing out from the back, how are you most likely going to concede a goal? Playing out from the back and making mistakes close to your own goal. It's going to cause a lot of maybe arguments or unrest in the Pompey ranks, in the fan base, because they won't like all this silly knocking about a bit. A lot of them just want to pump it along and score goals, don't they? That's what a lot of sort of like old school Pompey fans will want. They want knock it to the big lads in Bishop, and he's going to knock it down for the little ones in Dale and Paddy Lane, who's going to be in and around them. Look, I can't see them dropping Raggett completely. I think it's going to be a slowly bringing Barnard into the side, I think. I know Towler's got his space straight away because Robertson's injured, and we kind of need to get him playing early on and get him beside Raggett, who's a bit more experienced. But yeah, it's unfortunate that we don't have any Papa John's matches anymore to sort of bed him into playing in the squad and get him up to our gameplay, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's such a tough way to look at it. But I think I could see, if he does decide to play Barnard all the time and have that back four, yeah, we could see a revolution of a back four who's going to play beautiful football and knocking it around. But at the same time, you could see a few mistakes and costing us some goals.
Jake, you know this this certain gentleman called Sean Maggott quite well, don't you? I know he was a
little bit.
He was a bit of a stalwart for you back in his days at Lincoln. I'm glad to see that. Glad to hear, that we've got an Exeter fan who's going to come and join us and give us the lowdown on the late Giovanni Brown drama that we're about to see unfold in the next hour and 15 minutes. That's said with a wink.
Oh Lord!
It's said with a wink and a smile. Said with a wink and a smile. Oh hello.
Honestly, he wants.
You don't get that on Sky Sports, do you?
No, you
I'm
don't.
not
I nearly
sure.
said, "Go on."
I'm not sure what he's doing, but
I know you
he's
said something really.
he's
rude
keen to
there,
get on the young pod. Clearly,
Yeah, Giovanni Brown was off to Pompey, is what he heard.
He's, oh my word, what's going on? Late drama.
he's going to jump at the phone. We'll have to move him. Go on,
Yeah, you
know,
all quite
clear off. Go on.
He's gone. That's a shame. What was I about to say? Yes, Sean Maggott. Would you leave him in this Pompey back line, or would you opt for the more youthful, let's carry the ball, etc., etc.?
Difficult, really, because Towler was someone that we looked at under Michael Appleton, so that gives to me the vibe that he's someone who can play the ball out of the fence really well. And I mean, you guys would have seen him a lot more than I would. I guess that's clearly been the case. But Sean Maggott always, for me, is going to have a lot of sentimental value, given the fact that he scored Lincoln's probably biggest goal in the club's history away at Burnley a couple of years ago. He's a great bloke. He's a great defender. I think maybe made the move to Norwich at the wrong time, maybe a move too high up too soon. But he's a good defender. I think the thing that you get with Rags is he's a real leader. His mindset is second to none. I've not seen a player with a mindset as good as Sean Maggott. In terms of right, we might have conceded, but we just go again. And it's difficult because obviously John Messina's got a couple of centre backs on his mind. Maybe he's thinking about potentially going into a 3, like I mentioned on Sunday. I'm not sure if that's in his plans or not. But you guys need experience, and especially when you've got young Swanson at right back. I would keep Raggett in personally. I know he's got a mistake in him. I understand he's someone who just lobs the ball forward, but for his leadership mentality, I would be keeping Rags in. Definitely for the first next couple of weeks or so, while you've got some important games to bed the likes of Bernard in to the squad. So yeah, difficult because then you've got obviously Robertson to come back in as well, and it's a real selection headache, and I imagine it's a great one for you guys. So personally, and for sentimental reasons, I would keep Rags in because I know what a defender he can be.
There's a
sorry, Mr. Super Chat as well, Tom.
Yes,
sorry, Mr. Super
Chat. Say.
Paddy Lane, wow, some signing, only just seen it. That's Matt, of course. So yeah, I think he's a Cheltenham fan, but still clearly
Is he joining us?
I have not received a message just yet. So if you're still around, Matt,
then stop donating money, son. Get on the stream. Yeah. Come and join us.
But a good sign. I think we've 100% agreed on that, and I think that everyone around League One can also appreciate the type of signing that one's going to be. There's the cat again, isn't it?
Was it the cat?
Might be the cat.
I have to shut him out, I think. Bear with me.
Oh, Jake's leaving us just momentarily.
Like I say, you don't get this on Sky Sports. Welcome to the Unfan Podcast and Fournilwrittenalloverit Deadline Day special.
Yeah, you don't get that on. You don't see, this is. I saw a comment earlier on of people going, "Oh no, we're not going to bother watching Sky Sports. So much prefer this." Thank you to the 369 people who still join us. By the way, I know there's been a lot of questions of Pepe and whether we can go to bed, etc., etc. We'd really rather that you didn't go to bed because we like you to stick with us until the deadline.
Stay
closes
on the stream, just for stream vibes, not. Transfer business, just stay on the stream.
I mean, if you go to bed, you'll miss all the late drama that might unfold in the next hour or so. That's what I'm saying.
I'm so glad you're positive because you're carrying the positiveness.
You got to. There is a very, very good chance that
Peroni carrying the talk there.
Well, no, it's just a very good chance that nothing will happen, and we'll all just go to bed at 11 o'clock. But we don't want everyone to plummet off at 10. We want you to stick with us. Bear in mind that I don't know if it's an incentive to stay, but Alex Griffin is still yet to join us this evening. But we've also Brendan's off. We've also got an Exeter City fan's going to join us, and I'm still trying to get Archie fan, Plymouth fan Archie to come and join us. And I've just seen a tweet from Pompey that flashed up, but I think it's a kind of, yes, we've got you both in the door. Sadly, it doesn't have a third line with a timer next to it. So, maybe that might be about it. Although it has come at 10 to 10. So, I don't know, maybe there's 5 minutes to maybe get a little sneaky teaser for the next one. And who knows? We will see. Paddy Lane himself tweeted in the last 20 minutes or so saying, "What a feeling joining a club like Pompey. Looking forward to seeing everyone at Fratton." Paddy, by any chance, are you watching? You're probably not. You might be. Who knows? We're very much looking forward to seeing you at Pompey as well, mate. Very much so. Brendan, just quickly on the Sean Raggett conversation, Jake was quite rightly saying they're obviously trying to bed in the new talent, etc., etc. There is also the argument, of course, that Sean Raggett has been playing almost every game in a Pompey shirt for a long old time. And we know the schedule is pretty unforgiving coming up over the next couple of weeks and months. So an opportunity for Sean Raggett to maybe just take a little bit of a back seat and have some rest when fresh young talent can be coming through in this Pompey side as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of Saturday, Tuesdays, and then there's Good Friday, Easter Monday. So there's plenty of time to shuffle it around and try and keep players fresh. Yeah, I think Sean Raggett recently, he got benched for the first time in like 46 games, consecutive league games. He finally, he was given a rest, which we all thought was a bit bizarre. Then we ended up losing that one, thinking, why the hell have we benched Raggett? I thought it was a bit of a bizarre one at the time. But yeah, it'll be a good chance for Rags to get a rest, because we know he puts his body on the line every single game. Like he nearly ended up in the main stand behind the goal, didn't he? After at Peterborough, he's fallen into the north stand before and fallen into every stand. So yeah, he puts his body on the line for the club and comes out with a black eye every week.
You mentioned Saturday, Tuesday, Brendan. That is February there for you all. And bear in mind, February starts tomorrow, everybody. So happy February for tomorrow. You've got Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Tuesday. You've got at least 2 Saturdays. And what is a pretty condensed month as well, February. We lose a few days, don't we? So plenty of opportunity for some fresh legs, perhaps. What do you reckon? Yeah,
and some big games as well. Obviously, Barnsley, Plymouth, Lincoln away. They're always a good away day, and they'll give us a tough game. Cheltenham at home, Bolton's another tough one. They beat us 3-0 a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, there are some very tough games in there for us to have. So keeping legs fresh and minds clear will definitely come in handy for us.
Good. I've just had confirmation. Jack, would you like to break the news?
We will be having a Cheltenham representative coming on, so we can discuss Cheltenham when that happens, but I think a little bit of early stuff on that. I think they've had a fairly good window as well, along with Forest Green Rovers. Can we just touch on them, please? Because they've had a really, really impressive window, not just when it comes to players as well. I think Duncan Ferguson is a really, really exciting appointment. You're right. So I think what we'll see there is, again, similar to Burton now, that hope to go and stay in the league. I think they have shown that sense of ambition. In fact, I've got a list of just a couple of the names in front of me now. McCann joins from Rangers. Spent apparently the fee on Transfermarkt, don't quote me on this, but transfermarkt.com, £397,000. So quite ambitious there from Forest Green Rovers. They want to stay in the league. Doohan from Tranmere Rovers. Robson from Lincoln City. That's interesting. We'll come to Jake on that in just a couple of moments' time. Garrick from Swansea City as well. They've gone sort of down the route of, with Bakayoko as well, players that have played in League One before. I think when you're trying to stay in the league, going with experience in that sense is sensible. So some other names in there. Charlie Savage stands out as well. Of course, a loan deal from Manchester United, somebody who for a long time sort of been hovering around sort of Manchester United, sort of in the 23s and 21s, linked to a couple of loan moves in his time as well. I think he went on the preseason tour to Thailand with United and made a couple of appearances under Eric Ten Hag, but looks as though a loan move now makes sense. So he's going to Forest Green Rovers. Let's just quickly go to Jake Robson. He's joined Forest Green Rovers in their hope with quite a few players to keep them in the league. Thoughts on Robson? A good move for Forest Green Rovers?
Yeah, well, you got to remember that John and Garrick was also at Lincoln for the first half of the season as well. So they've basically nabbed 2 of our players, and we took their left wing back off them as well. So no, yeah, obviously Jamie Robson we went to this 3-back formation, and Robbo was sort of shoved out to left wing back, where, you know, if we're being honest, Robson isn't actually a wing back; he's more a defensive full back, which is when we signed him from Dundee. Definitely someone that was brought in for his defensive qualities, and you know, Forest Green have leaked goals this season, left, right, and centre. I think they've conceded the most goals in the division, and they needed to shore up that defence. And the lad they had, Harry Boys, who we've subsequently signed, is definitely more of an attacking option, so you can see where the goals are coming from if their wing backs are flying high. So good move for Robson, I think. You know, a long contract. Lincoln were looking to make way with him. Definitely a good player, and definitely League One standard. He's got experience of staying up in League One as well, given last year as well. So look, a deal that worked all the way around for Lincoln, for the player, and then for Forest Green. And he's gone in and made a pretty good impact. I think he, when they played Exeter, I'm pretty sure Robson crossed the ball for Garrick, which you can imagine really made me smile when you see that as a Lincoln City fan. So, yeah, good move for both of those players, and hopefully they can settle down and kickstart their career there.
Brandon, enough to keep them in the league? Enough to keep them in the league, Forest Green Rovers?
Yeah, some good ones there. I think with their new manager bounce with Fergie as well, Duncan Ferguson, I think now they've got a good chance of it. You know, they've got a decent fan base.
Imagine Fergie at Forest Green.
Duncan Ferguson.
No, I know, but as if it was the original Fergie, Sir Alex.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's not him.
No, sadly.
Can you imagine that would be a deadline day special if they caught Alex Ferguson down? I think they really have strengthened. I think we've got Exeter fan coming on in just a few moments. I think 10 minutes or so on that. So
we need to be careful, Jack, because we might have an Exeter and a Plymouth fan on at the same time. We might cause a little bit of a conflict there. We don't.
I think we should keep that on. I think that's more exciting.
Oh, okay.
Aiden O'Brien off to Gillingham says Dawn Roberts as well. Aiden O'Brien, Tom, you said at the start of the stream someone that we sort of would touch on again later on. Aiden O'Brien.
Did I?
Off to Gillingham. You did. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I don't remember, Jack. It feels like years ago, mate.
It was a couple of hours ago. But Aiden O'Brien, if I'm not wrong, you know a little bit about Aiden O'Brien. Of course, was at Portsmouth.
I do, yes.
He's going to League Two, but it is of course someone that we know quite well. I don't really, but Pompey fans do.
Yes, big shame actually. Big shame, because there was actually I was very disappointed, and I remember being in a Costa at the time when I found out that Aiden O'Brien had gone to Shrewsbury, and I went, "Oh my God, what is he doing?" With respect to Shrewsbury fans who may be watching or listening back to this, what's he doing going to Shrewsbury? Was my point of view when we were said to be in negotiation for a re-signing of a contract or extension to an existing contract in the summer. When he came down to us originally. Aiden O'Brien for me will go down as one of the best Pompey goals that we've scored in the last couple of years, really. It was a goal, I believe it was against Wigan Athletic. Am I right in saying that?
Last home game of the season.
Yeah, and he made a run that was like the most ridiculous run you've ever seen. It's been something quite that I'm a little bit confused by why he's gone to League Two, to be honest with you, because I don't think he's a League Two talent, to be honest. That'd just be my point of view. But I don't know if Pepe has any view or Brendan want to share about Aiden O'Brien.
Oh, I thought he was a really good player when he was at Pompey. He scored quite a few goals, didn't he? He worked well alongside George Hurst. I thought they worked well together. They sort of played off each other. O'Brien sort of a little bit deeper, wasn't he? And sort of put Hurst through, and they worked well, and that he helped sort of the rise. Sorry, at the end of the season with George Hurst. Sorry.
Peterborough causing problems again.
Yeah, Peterborough. I thought he worked well, and I would have liked him to have stayed at Fratton Park, obviously. But I think when you look at sort of what Pompey did in the summer, you can understand why. It's sort of the budget. It all sort of worked out as it did. And would they go and break the bank for someone like that? Probably not. Yeah, it's a mixture. I think I wouldn't have minded if he stayed, but I wasn't overly fussed that he didn't. I was sort of in the middle on the fence, and I think if you're on the fence about someone, then maybe breaking the bank and putting a little bit more isn't sort of the way to go. But I hope he does go to Gillingham, because I've got a little bet on Gillingham a couple of weeks ago. I saw them 500 to 1 to finish in the top 7, so 2 wins after.
Wow.
So, I stuck £3 on. So
they had that takeover, didn't they? Is that right? They had a takeover there, so they've got a little bit of money to spend. So you're looking at someone like O'Brien. I think they signed someone else, haven't they? From a few names really.
Ollie Hawkins from Tom Nichols. So they've
sort of gone down the route of bringing players. Yeah, they're spending the money really is what they're doing, which in their hope to sort of get themselves out of quite a difficult first half of the League Two season, it does make sense. I'm just looking at Shrewsbury really quickly. Not much business really, other than O'Brien going out of Shrewsbury. In terms of coming in, only one loan signing, Phillips from Crystal Palace. Don't know too much about him, but again, a young player from a Premier League club. So not much business for Shrewsbury, but they did quite a lot. They did quite a lot in the summer as well, I believe. And they were quite an aggressive summer. Club really. They sort of really changed their way of working with their recruitment. They sort of were for quite a long time hovering around the relegation zone, sort of really did kickstart it. I mean, recently you can see their turn of form. They look like a really good outfit now. A couple of injuries hindered them, but they're sort of on a little bit of a roll. Most of the Argyle Pockets just bumble at the moment. They just need more time before they join in with those sort of casts. No offense to Argyle. There we go. I'm glad I read that out.
Thanks for doing that, Jack. I was going to ignore that one, but
sorry.
It was long. I thought that might have some substance to it, but I don't think.
Go on, Pepe. Sorry, I can't.
I think something on Shrewsbury. I think it's fair to say, and I speak for a lot of people, that Shrewsbury were, I think, most people's dark horses in League One with the amount of players they were bringing in, experienced League One players. You look at Shea Dunkley, Sheffield Wednesday, Wigan, and then Aiden O'Brien, and they brought in some really quality players. And they did have an outside chance of obviously being in the playoffs. They still are. Don't get me wrong. They're just in and around Pompey as well. So they are still mid-table. They are still lingering. So I know they've only made. You just mentioned they just made one signing, which bearing in mind they got most of their deals done in the summer. I think Steve Cottrell's happy with what they're doing, the business they did there. And they are a really tough outfit to play. I know they obviously it was quite scary with them against Forest Green, 2 90th minute goals, but they're a really solid team. And I think I've noticed that a lot this season in League One. Yes, there's only been a couple of standout teams, but it's all been very close. You look at anybody could really beat anybody in League One this season at the moment. And especially the promoted sides as well. Obviously, Forest Green are maybe an exception to that, but the other 3 promoted teams have settled in well, and that just shows the strength of League One this season. That there hasn't really been teams that have walked the league. Everybody can sort of fight anybody, and it's just been one of those leagues which it's been entertaining this season. I'd have to say.
Similar to last season as well, Cambridge United and Cheltenham did the same thing. Similar to Port Vale and Exeter, they're sort of doing the quite similar thing, which is again a good thing for the last couple of years. So yeah, I like that.
Brendan's going to have to leave us, everybody. Before you go, good news is Newcastle are through to, I think, is it the final of the Carabao Cup?
It is the final.
Yeah. So that's good news. I haven't been watching the game. I don't really care, to be honest, about the team they're playing. But the good news is they're through. So many congratulations to Eddie Howe and his Newcastle side, who recently signed Anthony Gordon as well, which is someone we haven't spoken about and probably wouldn't have done because it's a League One stream.
What happened to that Matt Ritchie rumour?
Yeah, I know. Someone saw him at Mixed Monster Burgers, didn't they? And then that all went quiet. Yes.
Wait till the summer, Pepe. Wait till the summer.
That's it.
Get on the 3.
Still an hour to go, boys. Remember that.
Brendan, exactly a week on from our trip to Fleetwood. Just your closing thoughts on Pompey's transfer window.
Yeah, a decent one. Yeah, I think as every manager and every fan will say, I could always do with 1 or 2 more, but is the life. I think I'll take what we've got and see where we go from here. You know, obviously, I like to we like to look at the positive sides of it and try and think of it the glass half full rather than half empty. And I think we've got a chance to sort of make a push for the playoffs. If we'll make it, it's a different question, but we're still in the race effectively. So, and we've got some quality in the team to try and make it there. Happy in the end of the day.
Good man. That's what we like to see. And score predictions Saturday, Brennan, if we don't speak to you beforehand.
Oh, I've got Fournilwrittenalloverit, mate.
That's what we like to see.
Go on, other boys.
Thank you, mate.
Cheers, Brendan.
I really appreciate your time tonight. The transfer window has entered its final hour, ladies and gentlemen. We are excited to tell you that we've now got just under 56 minutes left on the stream here tonight. It's all very exciting. Lee said Pompey have had a great window. Well done to all involved. And I believe, Jack, that we've got some guests joining us very soon from both sides of Devonshire, which would be good fun. Jake, you mentioned earlier on the prospect of Lincoln City versus Portsmouth. I wonder if we could do maybe a really early preview that we obviously will revisit on 4-0 Sunday Live in a couple of short weeks. But two teams that actually will be really pleased with both respective transfer windows heading into our 18th of February summit.
Yeah, can't wait, Tom. It'll be interesting because the game down at Fratton Park I thought was quite a good game as well. But yeah,
the one you won 0, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Look, I think, we spoke at length tonight about Pompey's transfer business. I think it's been pretty good overall. Adding Paddy Lane, who has already scored at St Bank this season, is something to add to your books. But then you look at Lincoln, I think we've had a pretty good transfer window ourselves. Harry Boy's coming in from Sheffield United. Obviously, the Shadipo, we've had Luke Plange come in, and then this new lad from Scotland who Pepe can pronounce that I can't. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Obviously, we've got the record still at home that we're still unbeaten. We've only got one home game to play in between the clash with Pompey at St Bank, so we could still well be unbeaten going into that game, which sort of makes me want to back Lincoln a little bit more. But Pompey have got a good record at Central Bank, and that absolutely terrifies me. I think it was 3-0 last time, 3-1 the year we got, because we beat each other the year we got into the playoffs. We beat you at Fratton, and you beat us at Central Bank, and I believe it was a certain John Marquis scored a double that day for you guys as well. So look, I think it's going to be a good game. I think you've got a couple of games between now and then to bed your new players in. You've got Barnsley on the weekend, and then you've got a couple of games in between. We've got Accrington this weekend, and then Bristol Rovers to try and bed our lads in. So fascinating game. Obviously, I think it's nice that it's on a Saturday because it was on a Tuesday last time. It's been on Tuesday a few nights before, which has been a bit rubbish for you guys. So you guys might be able to sell out a few more tickets, and hopefully it should be a good, entertaining game. I anticipate a draw because we draw every game, home and away.
At home, especially.
At home, especially, yeah. So what's that? I think that's 11 out of 13 games we've drawn at home, which is mental. I think it's quite absurd, but no. Looking forward to it, Tom. Looking forward to seeing yourself and some of the 4-0 crew down in Lincoln, showing you around. Hopefully, a few bevs maybe. But yeah, no. Looking forward to it, mate. It's a game that Mark Kennedy will be looking to try and win and catch yourselves back up to the mid-table where Pompey currently sit.
We've got some good news. There's 329 people join us. We're going to add 2 to the conversation, I think, Jack. We've got Aaron, who joins us live here on YouTube, as well as Jack's not going to add them in as I'm talking about them. So that's
don't worry. I'm on
really
it.
well. He's on it. There we go. Aaron's here, and we have an Exeter City fan who joins us live on the channel too, which is good to see. Has he left yet, mate? We've got sort of 50 minutes until the big Giovanni Brown announcement, or is that not a runner?
I think it's looking good, to be fair. Hopefully, from what I've heard, seen on Twitter and heard of the pipelines, it sounds like he's to stay. So it's a good thing. If we lost him, it would be absolutely devastating. But yeah, I'm just happy.
Aaron, could I just confirm what's actually happening to you at this moment in time? It just looks a little bit. Oh, thank God for that. I thought there was. I was really concerned that I know it's sort of 10 past 10 Tuesday night, unwind after work, but
No, she's had a haircut, first haircut, and that. So yeah, keys. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so she's doing all right.
Good to see. Good to see.
Did it look
Jack,
a bit dodgy then?
I really thought my career was gone there.
It looked it didn't look amazing, Aaron. I'll be honest, but we've clarified it now, so all's good. Good news. Well, semi-good news. We'll see. I don't know if Pepe would have seen it flash up on his phone. Jack, I'm sure you've seen it. We've had confirmation from our very own Andy Moon, saying that the fee was around 250,000 plus add-ons for Paddy Lane. So we'll see. It's kind of half the sort of money that we paid for for Colby Bishop in the summer. But there we go.
That's
Harris,
I think that's a bargain. Sorry, I think that's an absolute bargain. Personally, for a player that quality, we just got to show it now. Sorry, I butt in there, but I just think that's an absolute bargain. For at least I would have put probably 500 on him, but 250 with add-ons. That's a top quality sign. Yeah, with potential.
When you say that, I don't know what the fee was at £2 million at some point in
Brighton wanted 2 million 6 months ago, which is
so shrewd business is probably the best way to describe it. Harris, I wonder if you could talk us through Exeter City a little bit in terms of the window that you've had. I know you can completely avoid Giovanni Brown if you want to, and we can chat a little bit less about that. So what have you made of it all? And, are you pleased? Out of 10? I know I said out of 10 on confidence of you winning the game when you came down to Fratton Park a couple of weeks ago, but out of 10 in terms of Exeter City?
I've actually been really pleased with how our window's gone. You look at previous managers when we had Tisdale and Taylor. We had we had Tisdale since I've been alive. I think we've had 3 managers. We got someone new in Gary Caldwell, and he's the kind of manager who's been to a lot of clubs and not really been successful. But it means that he's got a lot of links at different clubs, and he was able to bring in people like Joe White from the Newcastle under 23s when he was coaching there last season. Christ, what's he called? The new one of the players we signed today. He was, I think he was at Hibs with them last season.
Mitchell came from Hibs, and Scott was from Hull City as well. That's
it, Dimitri Mitchell. He was from Hibs, who he knew Caldwell. I think losing Dieng at the start of the window was that was. I woke up and I did not expect to see that. I didn't know there was a release clause in his contract, and it's not ideal when he goes. But clearly Gillingham have got a lot of money, more money than we do. So if you did it for money, then fair enough. But, it's not like we can. It's not like we can afford to pay players that much. But that's it's obvious. But no, I think
Aiden from Bolton's a really good pickup.
That's a brilliant deal. It's been really nice to actually see us go out. Because not to speak poorly of Matt Taylor, but whenever we had him, he was always just every transfer when there was as if he was just complaining about the fact that he had no money and stuff. But it seems like Caldwell's got a lot of backing, and he's got a lot more experience with different players at different levels, in different leagues, in different countries. So the board have definitely given him a lot more faith to just go out and kind of do what he wants, and hopefully it'll work out. And we saw with Joe White, his first game, he was unbelievable. But no, generally very positive transfer window, I think.
Are you confident with the players that have come in that you're going to stay in the league? I think we're all pretty confident in saying I think you will, but there's always that sort of worry when you bring those players in, and maybe now that real momentum when you first get promoted, the second half can slightly tail off. But what you have done, I think you've strengthened when the iron's hot. Is that enough to keep you in the league now?
I think definitely. I think if you asked me that at the start of January when we lost people like Diego and Matt J, I was not panicking, because I feel like we are, we're a lot better than the kind of worst teams in League One. But end of the transfer window now, I feel like we're definitely in a much stronger place to stay up. Even, the new player, Dimitri Mitchell, he came on at MK Dons. We won that 2-0. We probably, to be honest, we didn't deserve to win that game. They just, they were terrible at finishing that game, but MK Dons. But we took our chances. But no, Mitchell looked really bright. Joe White looked really bright. I'd say we've got a better squad end of the window than we did at the start, to be honest.
I think that's probably the positive that comes in transfer windows. I always say, end the window stronger than you did at the start. You sort of reflect quite positively. Thanks, Harry. I think that's quite a good insight on Exeter there.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Cheers.
Can I before he goes, can I just, to quote the brilliant bootlegger, things are about to get spicy, because I'd like to add a Plymouth fan into the conversation, and we'll move him out the top corner so he's nowhere near the Exeter fan. I absolutely love that reaction. That was world class, and I can't wait for this. It's gonna be good fun. Archie's promised me that we won't be throwing hands, so none of that's going to be happening. Also, it transpires into the comments as well, because there's one team in Devon. Devon is red, Devon is green, and then we're going to have a debate about it, but we'll see. Archie, tell us a little bit about your transfer window. Pepe was mentioning that You know, he's been up there with one of the best in League One, and we were more than backing ourselves. Ipswich, we even spoke about Burton Albion and Fleetwood as having good windows. Take us right back to the beginning, because you had some interesting early business, and it's kind of tailed off and gone a little bit quiet. Tell us about it.
Yeah, bang on. I mean, we sort of signed 5 in the space of a week, so we went out early. I think obviously partly of the sort of motivation was the Ipswich game. I think obviously one of the biggest games of our season. We sort of had to try and get players in, had to get a bit of squad depth, because we lost a few players to injury, to be fair, before the sort of start of the January transfer window. Yeah, it's nice to see sort of new players coming in. I think we're investing in youth more. I said Tyreek Wright from Bradford, sort of a brilliant start of the season on loan there, and we managed to pick him up on a permanent from Villa. And as I think it's been mentioned by other clubs, I think you can really see the sort of intent that a lot of League One clubs are making this season by making permanent transfers rather than the loans. Because I mean, if you followed what we did, we're like free transfer FC or loan FC. That's what people call us all the time. But no, we've sort of gone out and spent quite a bit this transfer window. Like Ben Waine, I mean, that's a cracking signing. Beat Millwall, beat a host of Championship clubs to that one. And yeah, I think it's very positive. And I said it's been done early, but I think it's almost needed to be done early rather than leave it this late. And obviously, we've seen tonight there's a few undecided ones, which I'm sure we'll keep an eye out for.
Is there anything imminent from your point of view?
No, there's potentially one that I know of, which might happen, but I mean, I highly doubt it probably will happen now.
We've got a name on that. Are we allowed to say who that could be?
It's a defender, but I can't say the name.
Oh,
it's not from the League One side though, so don't worry.
Oh, that's okay then.
Wouldn't concern any of these things.
Relief there that that's good news. Well, yes, I would say thank you to everyone who's still with us, and we've got sort of less than 45 minutes now to go until the curtailing of the transfer window. Aaron, we haven't actually had a proper comment from you, mate, thus far on Pompey's success in the last couple of days in terms of transfers. We're obviously delighted with the news today of 2 incomings. What have you made of those 2 coming in, and maybe a reflection on the transfer window as a whole?
Oh, quite excited actually. So good appointments, and if he's signed for 250,000, that's a bargain bucket basement call that. But I think also as well, if we do actually sell him in a couple of years, I think there'd be sell-on clauses and paying the other club as well. But and even getting the young lads from Man United as well. Great prospects there as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing the team and everything. But it's all right signing these players, but they've got to gel with each other. They've actually got to learn and play with each other and communicate as well. I was listening to Brendan earlier on when I was walking the dog about Raggett. Fantastic player he's been for us, but he does need a break. He's virtually starting 11 every week. So sometimes you do need to get other players in just to give some of them a rest. So hopefully that will revive him as well, because I don't think his head can take any more knocks, because bashing everything every 5 minutes in every game. But it's quite good, and on social media as well, everyone's coming out with the new Paddy Lane songs and everything as well. So, but even looking at all the transfers for all the other teams as well, everyone's done really well, I think. Quite shocked and surprised that everyone's actually got, like the young lad from Plymouth said, actually signed players instead of just loans as well, which is a good advert for League One, and it's going to be a very interesting second half of the season. I think it's going to be more competitive as well now.
Pepe, Dylan wants a word on doors, and that might be something that is got. I'm sorry, Jack, to bring the conversation. I know we've got loads of sets of League One fans, and I somehow managed to find our way back to Pompey. We will get back on to the rest of you boys in just a second. Might have gone under the radar a little bit. I know we didn't really cover it too much here on the channel, and it kind of came between. I think it was just before the Spurs game, wasn't it, that we signed Riley Towler?
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been solid. I know that first goal against Peterborough at the weekend is, it's a Towler Raggett tussle, really, isn't it, in terms of who's to blame for that one. What have you made of him so far in the couple of appearances he's made in a Pompey shirt?
I thought he's fit in perfectly. I think he's looked solid, and John Messino did talk about his partnership with Raggett at the back, and the 3 games they've been together, along with Macy, they've kept 2 clean sheets in 3 games and conceded 2 goals. Those 2 goals have come against the league's top scorer. So I think they've looked solid. It'd be interesting to see how Towler fits alongside Bernard or Bernard. I still don't know his name, how to say his name properly. It's like Erhan. I don't know how to say his name.
I'm sure we'll find out.
You told me earlier. Now you're doubting yourself. This is.
No, I know how to say Erhan. I don't know how to say Bernard. Bernard or Bernard. I don't know. But
everyone's calling it Bernard.
Are they calling him Bernard? Are they?
It just sounds better, Bernard.
I'd just call him Dishon, mate. Big D.
Or just call him Mustard. Just Mustard.
Yeah, this is true.
But yeah, Towler, I heard something from an AFC Wimbledon fan that when he does play, and he plays well when he's got game time. And that was sort of my worry when he did come in, was how much game time would he get, and the limited game time he could have got. That could have affected his performances, because some people said when he's not playing regularly, he's quite a confidence player, and if he doesn't play, then he might get affected. But the start he's had, he's been absolutely amazing. He's been terrific, and he's definitely one for the future. And Pompey, in a couple of years, will be getting some money for him, because I think it was like 60 odd grand for him from Bristol City. Again, another absolute pull from Richard Hughes. So he's working his magic again, and long may it continue, personally, because if we're bringing in players like that, then we've got a really good future ahead of us.
I don't know.
So I was going to say as well, Jake, I've got to check with some breaking League One news. We're desperate to get a Cheltenham Town fan on, but Jake, you've got some news on Cheltenham.
Yeah, Alfie May is off to Gillingham, surprisingly.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. You put me on the screen, Tom. I hate you for that. Cheltenham tweeted about 3 minutes ago when I put it in our private chat that Cheltenham tweeted they've reluctantly accepted a bid from Gillingham for Alfie May.
That isn't the official Cheltenham Town.
I've been mugged off.
But I do think he is heavily linked. I don't know whether or not
Gillingham have tweeted something. Gillingham have just tweeted something with curtains. So make of that what you will.
Was Matt going to come on, Jack, at any point?
That's what I said. I'm desperately trying to get the Cheltenham Town perspective on it. It's not. They haven't officially said they've reluctantly accepted a bid. I think that's a Cheltenham fan account or in the know Cheltenham Twitter account. But Alfie May, a big player, somebody who's got a lot of goals for Cheltenham over the last couple of seasons. Once again, Gillingham using that money from that takeover, they're bringing some players in. And Alfie May, I think he's some coop, to be honest with you. Waiting for the official announcement, but looks as though Gillingham are going to confirm that in the next couple of minutes. But that's some big news late on as well.
Well, we thought there'd be some late drama. We didn't think it'd be at Gillingham, did we? But we'll see that one. I just wanted to.
May, sorry, I've got a contact from Cheltenham who said they had inquiries earlier in the day, but they weren't willing to sell. So how that's developed, I don't know. But Gillingham have just tweeted something with a teaser of some curtains. So I don't know who that could imply, but that's what I knew earlier in the day, that there had been inquiries, but nothing more than that.
I don't know if I'm being a little bit thick, but I don't get the curtains Alfie May reference. Is there anyone that can shed some light on that?
I'm trying to work it out. I think to be honest, if you were putting 2 and 2 together, I think Alfie May is heavily linked. Gillingham are about to sign a player, but I think Gillingham signing players on deadline day with the amount of money they got to spend isn't too much of a surprise anyway. So we could be maybe looking too far ahead of it. But a
lot of Gillingham people were saying it was going to be like their transfer window. They had a couple of deadline day. They had a couple of windows years ago. Sorry. So I think it could just be a case of putting 2 and 2 together and making 5, but hey.
Sorry, on Gillingham, have they confirmed O'Brien yet?
Yes.
They have confirmed O'Brien.
Tom, that's down to you. You've said yes very probably too early.
I said yes because maybe I shouldn't.
If they haven't confirmed Aiden O'Brien would be that announcement, surely.
Why would curtains have anything to do with Aiden O'Brien? That's
I don't know. I'm just looking at other Gillingham signings. We heard O'Brien was heavily linked earlier on the stream, but wouldn't curtains imply their transfer window is closed? No, they've got love heart emojis and signing emojis, so I don't think that is the case. But I think either way, Alfie May, we're trying to find a little bit more on that. But Cheltenham looks as though they're going to lose somebody who has been injured this season, I believe. But again, a very, very key part of their
as long
squad.
as Gillingham finish in the top 7, and I don't care. I've got 1,500 quid in my pocket. So
Gillingham have agreed to sign a deal for Shrewsbury Town forward Aiden O'Brien on loan. So whether that's actually been announced yet or not, I'm not sure. But as we know, and as loads of gents on this stream will know, corroborate your sources, everybody. So we need at least 2 separate ones to give us any kind of inkling on or whether that's happening or not. I just wanted to come back to this comment, Jack, and I don't know if he's talking about your channel or mine. If he's not talking about your channel, definitely worth having a scroll down the Young Fan podcast and have a little look at some of the early Young Fan podcasts when it was like the very Young Fan podcast. Because we get enough stick on here for other people going back and scrolling through. Harris, could I ask you about your thoughts on what you saw from Pompey a couple of weeks ago on the first Messinio game in charge? I noticed and can I say your fans are absolutely exemplary, and this will pain Archie in the top right hand corner of your screen for me saying this, but in terms of some of the applause that we were doing for some of the fans that we'd lost in the last week, and in terms of before the game again with the Anton Walkes tribute as well. And actually, I was really impressed, and this is the main reason why Archie will be a bit upset, because actually a really underrated group of fans in that Milton end that I was I don't know if Pepe will agree with me, but I thought I was really impressed. So what did you think of the day as a whole? And I think I heard you chanting, "We've got the ball, we've lost the ball" at one point, which is a bit concerning.
It was a bizarre day. I think we've been in that kind of form recently, though, where you'll go to one game and it's very rarely you go to a game at the moment and we have the same lineup as the week before. We're always trying to try something different out and play players where they wouldn't necessarily play. When you play Josh Keane in number 10 or as a left back, it's a bit, and then after the 90 minutes, you soon realise that he's not meant to play there. No, I think like in terms of talking about sets of fans, I think we're a fan base that's been through a lot, obviously, with owning the we're 20 years of owning the club through the Supporters Trust now, and also with things like when Stano died, with Jay and all that. I think we're just one of those fan bases that are quite accepting of different things and quite respectful. There's always going to be some bad apples amongst our fan group and amongst every club's fan groups, but the club never want to try and associate themselves with those kind of people. Apart from the scoreline, it was a very nice day out, really. It was my first time out for Frown Park. Pre-match interview, you asked me how confident I was, and I was like, oh, well, I said it would go 2-1 or 1-0 either way, and then it was 2-0 to your way. But no, I was actually really impressed with how well you guys played. And also, I think just frustrated at how poorly we played, really. I think, apart from that early Nombe chance, that where Macy made that good save, I don't think we really had anything else apart from Giovanni when he was running through. He nearly scored and then just took a heavy touch and keeper claimed it. But no, I think we're just at that kind of, I think Colwell is still trying to find his bearings, especially with we've signed so many players. Well, not so many players, but we signed a reasonable amount of players this window. Yeah, and lost, we lost 2 of our, last season, we lost 2 of the most important players we had last season that got us into League One. So it's going to be an interesting kind of month or so throughout February, just to try and settle down again into a rhythm. But no, it's going all right.
Aaron, you were there to watch us against Exeter City. It was a game that you surprised me coming down for, so thanks for coming again for that one. He's alluded to it there, Harris, really, really well, actually, in terms of the way in which Matt Macy kept us in the game that day. And if he hadn't done that, that could have been a really different game. And that's maybe someone, as I spoke to Pepe about earlier with Riley Towler, perhaps a signing that's come at the early part of the window that might not get a look in because of this late news. But I mean, we have spoken about it a little bit, but it's worth getting your view on this. Matt Macy, I mean, what a moment at that game and that inspired confidence for him to kick on and put in the performances that he has done in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think he's been outstanding, actually, especially his first game, with the nerves and everything he's going to have with the threatening standing right behind him. And then all of a sudden he's done them 2 worldy saves in the first half. And the whole place just rocked after that, thinking, yeah, we've got someone here to actually take us forward, especially as with Griffiths. He was good, but he didn't do worldy saves like that. And now he's controlling that back line as well. You can see the difference it's made for the defenders, which is absolutely breathtaking, really, because like we've missed that leadership in some of the other streams now, saying we need someone to be a leader, push the team forward, and in our defence area, we've got the goalkeeper to do that. with the new defenders we got in as well, you can see it's all starting to come together, and that's going to be very, very dominant. Like if you think it's like new managers taken over 3 games in, 2 clean sheets, and you can see where it's going. Now we just need that leader in midfield, and then we can crack on. But yeah, what a signing that goalkeeper is. Yeah, you forget about that. You just think about the signings we've done on deadline day, but we have got them other 2 as well. 4 have come in. Goalkeeper, a couple of defenders now. And he's a big lump as well. He's not a small geezer. He's a big lump. And standing in that goal is just like, is there any goal that what can't he do? And I think he's enjoying it as well. I think he's actually won some of the fans over. And with these other signings as well, I think the frowns at Fratton Park will get back to singing and everything, and hopefully we'll make it a fortress.
Archie, can we look ahead to that game on the 11th of February, if you wouldn't mind? And it's always a really good watch, green versus blue on the south coast and all that kind of thing. And a game that we've had a couple of, well, I say a couple, pretty much all of them have been 2-2s in the last couple of seasons. Even, can extend that to the playoff games if you want to. Would your fan base kind of sit up a little bit after the last couple of weeks at Pompey in terms of transfers and a resurgence under John Mousinho, and maybe that might not be quite as straightforward at home park as it might have seemed not too long ago?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously, we've got the best home record in the EFL at the moment, which is a positive, obviously, going into the game. But so the team like Pompey, it's always a big one. I mean, you either get loads of goals or you get 1 or 2 in it. It's never like a cagey affair. But no, it's going to be a really interesting one to watch, I guess. And I think we've got to really sort of not underestimate you guys. And said with the new manager. Do we still call it a new manager bounce? I think so. I think we still call it that.
By then you might not be able to, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's still going to be there in some sort of shape or way or form. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really interesting one. I think you guys will come at us. I think that's the way that if you want to win, that's probably the way to do it. Port Vale did that to us, brought the game to us, beat us 2-0. We had no chance that game. But I mean, it just depends if we're on it, then we're on it. I mean, I said with the new signings we've got, I think we've rested 2 of our first team players who started most games of the season because we physically have too many players. So I mean, it's not going to be a sort of a selection headache, which is quite a good thing on our end. But I said you guys brought in some great signings. Matt Macy's going to be an interesting one as well. See if he haunts us on his return. But I think it'll be a really, really good game.
You were probably the one Argyle fan that spoke to me not rudely about Matt Macy, and you actually said he was half decent for you and wasn't absolutely obliterating him like the rest of the fan base seemed to. Just before we let Jake go, because I know he's got to disappear. Rids has asked if there's any deadline transfers on the 4-0 team. Andrew to Oxford on a free transfer. I can tell you can very much go to bed on that one, Rids. I'm afraid there's going to be nothing coming off of that one. Jake, thanks for joining us for pretty much the duration tonight, mate. Really appreciate your company. You've given us some really insightful bits and pieces. Any closing words on what we've discussed in the last 2.5 hours, or are you just gonna? Can we have the cat back, or is that it?
You can have the cat. Yeah, of course you can. Bear with me.
Oh, he's getting
while he gets the cat, by the way. Gillingham, not quite what we expected. Tristan Abrahams on loan from Eastleigh, neither O'Brien or Alfie May. So we did well there. If anyone was watching, hoping for some insightful deadline day news from us, you didn't get that because no one expected someone on loan from Eastleigh. I don't know whether O'Brien. Did we actually get confirmation? Has O'Brien gone to Gillingham? Can we just double check?
He's not confirmed, but it's.
Well, I hope he is confirmed, Tom, because the tweet after that is, well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that brings our January business to an end. So if they haven't come O'Brien, they didn't go O'Brien either.
They've just quote tweeted that though, saying, "Or have the curtains got something else to offer us?"
Oh God! Can we just go to bed?
Gillingham have got us on strings. This is a disaster. What's going on?
They're not even in League One.
Anyway.
O'Brien was part of the League One, and so was Alfie May. So that could be one of the two, but it was Tammy Abrahams in the end.
Well, there's still 333 people, 337 of you with us. 4 people just joined all together at once. Then thanks for that, everybody. One of us is gonna, sadly, 2 of us, if we include. What's your cat's name, Jake?
Cairo.
Is their surname Practor?
No, that's awful.
I think it's on the bed.
Oh. No. Right, I tried it. It's tough crowd. Tough
2.5 hours in.
Tough crowd. 2.5 hours in. That sounded better in my head. To you and it's still going, mate. To you and Cairo's gone. He or she?
He.
He's had enough of my medical related jokes. Final word on the on the transfer window as a whole, Jake?
Yeah, just good to be able to talk to everybody here about League One transfers. Obviously, we've had some breaking news throughout the night, but no, it's been really good to sit and talk to you. Obviously, a load of clubs have made a couple of good moves. We'll see how that shapes the table in the coming weeks or so, and looking forward to seeing a couple of you in recent weeks. Hopefully, Tom down at Sincil Bank. Maybe Jack might come down as well. You never know. So, just good to be involved, and thank you very much. It was nice to see you all again.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, Jake. Thank you very much, mate.
Thanks for the updates on Ben as well, and we're looking forward to seeing Ben back with us very soon. Very much looking forward to that because
Cool.
right, he would have loved it tonight, wouldn't he? See you later, Jake. Take care. Right. Well, do we want to just clear up this Gillingham stuff then? Have we had anything else?
We haven't yet. Or the curtain's got something else to offer us, is the quote tweet from Gillingham. Tommy said Griffin isn't going to be with us in the end, so I think we'll quickly touch on Ipswich because Griffin, he's let us down.
Thankfully, he's not coming on to everyone's benefit. He won't be with us.
But I thought we would touch on their transfer business anyway, just to quickly sort of round up on Ipswich because we were going to get a bit of insight from Griffin.
I wouldn't call it insight, mate. He'd talk about it. He probably wouldn't provide much insight. It's a little nervous laugh from Jack there. Nervous laugh.
It's late. Leongo, Middlesbrough on a free transfer. Broadhead, that's a really good deal. By the way, Ipswich, we should say as well, they have spent some serious money in this window. They spent some serious money. Broadhead joined, I believe, £1.25 million from Everton. Really successful loan spell to Sunderland from Everton last season. Clark has rejoined Ipswich after he was there previously as a youngster. That's a permanent deal from Arsenal. And George Hurst, I want to quickly touch on George Hurst because I know that's going to cause a little bit of conversation in the Pompey fan base. Of course, was there last season on loan from Leicester City. George Hurst was somebody that was linked with Ipswich, I believe, in the summer. Once again linked with actually Pompey in the summer as well. A striker in the end, I think, went to, was it Wigan or Wigan or Blackburn? Blackburn. I know he was in the Championship. Didn't really work out there. Didn't really ever get a real go. Can we get a bit of George Hurst update? I think generally the signings have been very, very good and it's clearly ambitious. A lot of money there.
We can. Can I just say that was very much me joking about Ipswich and Alex's insight. I'm sure he could be much more helpful than any of us would on Ipswich. And I got sent a video that I made on TikTok with Alex about a year and a half ago. I was shown it when we were away at Fleetwood. Yeah, Aaron's face says it all. You really don't want to go and watch that. So I'd try and avoid anyone seeing that at any point. George Hurst news. Yeah. I mean, I'm quite publicly have said that he's been one of our best strikers that we've had at the football club in quite a few years. He's probably one of the signings for me that kind of really got you off your seat and kind of, just one of those where you don't know what to expect from George Hurst and the ball just seems to stick to his foot so well. My only thing would be is that it took him probably 6 months into his Pompey career to really get motoring and start scoring the goals that we needed him to. So if it takes him that long at Ipswich, then we'll see. We're going to come to Pepe, and Chloe's joined us as well. Pepe, I don't know if you spotted that in the chat. So hello, Chloe. Thank you for being with us. It's taken her 2.5 hours, but she's here, so that's the main thing. George Hurst, Pepe, thoughts?
I completely agree with what you just said there. It took him 6 months. He scored 1 goal really in that 6 months. Didn't really get firing. There was talk of him going back in January. He was one of the ones that was tipped to go back, and then I believe it was Crystal Palace. He scored that last-minute winner, and that sort of just changed. You look at it now, that sort of changed his career as a whole. If he didn't get that goal against Crystal Palace in the Papa John's Trophy in the 90th minute, he would have probably left Pompey that January and he would have gone back to Leicester, and that would have been Rotherham as well. He had a failed loan spell there. He didn't really get off the mark at Sheffield Wednesday, so that sort of really that really changed his career, and he then was able to finished Pompey's top goal scorer last season. So he really came on leaps and bounds, and he was one of those strikers that I really wanted to stay in the summer. But when they brought in Colby Bishop, you then think he can't really work alongside Bishop. But yeah, I completely agree. If it takes him that long to warm up, he'd never really kick-started his career at Blackburn, then that was brought to an end. And then he's gone to Ipswich, and you then wonder, will the same happen to him again? Or was he just lucky that Danny Cowley really gave him trust, and he's a confidence player. And if he doesn't have the confidence, he won't turn up. But when he did have the confidence, we really saw the best in what he does have.
Aaron, George Hurst?
Yeah, just the same as both of you said. Since the Crystal Palace game, that was it. That made him the player that we all saw and we all knew he was. But then it's just the confidence. If he hasn't got the confidence, he doesn't perform. It's a shame, really. I would have loved him back at Portsmouth, but it's the same scenarios like when we had Ben Thompson. He was absolutely fantastic in midfield, and then he went, and then we've been trying to get him back. It's like, I think once you've had a player and they've gone back, just move on. Don't try and get him back from the past and everything. Just move on, get someone else in. I think that's what they did with Colby Bishop. He's a fantastic player in his day, but it just takes too long to get him where he was at the end of his loan spell. But yeah, quality player, but just too long to actually warm up.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I mean, I let you say there, too long to warm up. I mean, he will only be there till the end of the season. They have added other strikers. There isn't a full-on reliance on George Hurst. They have got Broadhead. Of course, Ladapo's already there. Jackson's there as well. They have got options up there. But again, as an option to also play with that quality and depth, I think you can't really complain there. Really quickly as well, just finishing off, and this will be a really brief conversation. You'll see why Sheffield Wednesday only signing one player during this window, Flint from Stoke City, a loan transfer. I think he's out of contract in the summer. He's been there before, I believe. He's 33 years of age, somebody which will bring experience. I know there's an injury to Hennigan. I know McGuinness went back to Cardiff City. He did really well on loan in the first half of the season. Maybe Flint is that replacement for both those players, but only one signing for Sheffield Wednesday. Of course, we have got 20 minutes left, but I'm looking at Sheffield Wednesday. Not many rumours surrounding Hillsborough right now. Is that enough for me? I've got a video coming out, and we speak about Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday, and their constant push. Really, I think it probably is a 2-horse race with Ipswich, really still in there. But I think those two now are sort of going head to head. Is that enough? I mean, I want to actually go to the Plymouth fan because I think this is really interesting. I want to ask you actually because you, of course, are in a bit of a battle with Sheffield Wednesday. Do you think that's enough? One signing through the door. I think we spoke about with you a brilliant example. This is a side that need to be adding quality when they're on top. Have they done that? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they obviously brought in quite a few players in the summer, which showed their intent to start the season. But I mean, obviously, yeah, losing McGuinness. I mean, he arguably their best defensive player by a long shot, I'd say. I think us Plymouth fans looking sort of from the outside in, we're worried for the game. That when we're playing them, and we're sort of worried, and they're always going to be on our shoulders. I don't think they're ever going to sort of drop off, and even like a late charge, possibly from Derby and possibly from. As I said, from Ipswich as well. So it's going to be a sort of I think rather than just us two breaking away and having a battle, I think it might still be a four horse race really.
With Derby in there as well.
Yeah, I think Derby might have a chance. I don't know if they've still got their games in hand or not. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, Derby.
Yeah, they got a couple, I think. So it's going to be really, really interesting. Obviously, they're on an incredible run of unbeaten string games. So we'll wait and see. And obviously, I think in regards to Wednesday not signing any more players, I think. I don't know. I think I'm a bit. I don't really have too much of an opinion on it, but I think if they haven't got McGuinness now, it's obviously going to sort of benefit us a little bit. So
I think just if I could just jump in there to go from the green side of Devon to the red side, everyone's favourite Exeter fan is going to be leaving us. Can I just ask one more thing before you go, if you don't mind, Harris? We were talking there about bringing it back to Pompey always. I do apologise about that, but that won't be the final 15 minutes of the stream that we will talk about Pompey. The one thing that has come out of all the news about Paddy Lane that we probably weren't expecting to hear was that fee of 250k plus add-ons. How much would you have expected? I think you're in the clear with it now. And I've just seen that there's a comment about a Gillingham new teaser, so we'll get on that in just a moment. My co-host is currently going to be investigating that as we speak. Your thoughts on how much Pompey would have needed to pay as a buyout clause, whatever fee, whatever you want to call it, for Giovanni Brown, given that he's got that length of contract left on him to take him through to the summer with you boys?
So that's what's interesting. I was watching the stream earlier when you were saying how, Portsmouth kind of have a habit of, they try and sign a player once, and if it's a bit too high, they're not ones to kind of stretch out and buy, spend lots of money. But I think, we're also a kind of club, just the way that we've ran with, the fact that we don't have any kind of heavy investment. you know, we always want to try and get as much as we can. And I think whether that means, you know, turning down what could have been a good amount of money, but that's the trouble is now whether he goes for a free transfer in the summer. But I think where we are, and you know, at the season at the moment, you know, Giovanni's been such a crucial player. I think it's, you know, in the long run, it is probably worth keeping him on just for another 6 months.
Sorry, quickly, Harris. Is there confidence with a contract extension on Brown? Do you know, is that likely? I mean, he likes the club quite heavily. I think we know that.
Yeah.
But do you reckon he will? Deep down, I don't imagine you might have inside knowledge, but from your just general instinct, do you reckon he will sign a new deal?
I mean, I've heard murmurs kind of from the inside, but I think it's still kind of up in the air at the moment. I feel like if there was any player that was kind of most attached to the club, bar kind of academy players, you know, I think out of all the players we bought from other clubs or signed from other clubs, Giovanni's probably the one that kind of understands the way the club is. You know, every week he talks about the fans and how much he enjoys playing here. Last season, you know, that was, you know, it a career highlight for him. But that's the dream scenario realistically would be to, you know, have him sign a 1-year contract now, keep him through the summer, even, or at least give us another transfer window. Even if he goes at the end of the summer, we'll at least have another transfer window to strengthen, you know, because you know, realistically at that point it'll be a transfer that we're kind of expecting. You know, I can see him going somewhere in the Championship. I think he's probably one of the best players in League One. He's unbelievable. In terms of the transfer fee, you know, who was it? Was it you, Jack, who mentioned something about 500k? But
yeah, they were sort of lingering in the chat. I think 500,000. But I mean, of course, top quality player doing really well for Exeter. Part of that sort of trio, Stansfield, Nombe. I think losing him is quite a key element gone. 500k for a player with 6 months left on his contract, though.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? It is a lot. But you know, like I was saying, we're even with Matt Taylor and Gary. You know, that's just part of the way we're run. Is we're never gonna, when we know how valuable a player is to us, we're never going to talk about, or we're never going to discuss, you know, selling a player cheap if they've got 6 months left on the contract, just because, you know, we always have to try and maximise things at a club like Exeter.
That could actually come back and bite you as well, because if he doesn't sign a new contract and then he leaves in the summer on a free, then you've lost out big time on the money and everything. He might be actually thinking, well, I love the fans, I love the club and everything. I'm going to give it till summer and then see what they say, negotiation. And then all of a sudden he's off for a free and he could be signing for a Championship. So it could actually come back and bite you to say, well, we should have sold him to Portsmouth at the time.
Yeah,
I think part of it as well. It was quite late on as well. So, you know, I didn't really hear too much Giovanni Brown to Portsmouth until this morning. If you look at, I mean, I'm sure, because Giovanni Brown is definitely someone that's on the radar of a lot of clubs because of his ability. But you look at £500,000, if it is that figure, how long have they got to spend that money? I mean, it came in this morning, for example, when that was really, really quite clear that there was some interest. How long have they got with £500,000 to spend?
I think we never rush into kind of signing players. We didn't rush into getting a manager. We were managerless for almost a month, I think, before we replaced Caldwell. I like, you know, I like that fact really, that we tend to kind of let it kind of, you know, we do a lot of scouting and kind of researching, and then we'll go after a player. So I realistically, if the bid came in kind of halfway through January, I'd have been a bit more kind of open to the idea of him leaving, because we'd have another, you know, 2 weeks to kind of find a replacement. But when it's the morning of the transfer deadline day, it's a bit, oh no, no thanks.
Yeah, it's a late one. Anyway, Harris, thank you so much, mate. I think we've got a really good insight there with Exeter, and you've kept on to Giovanni Brown, so a happy and a good end to your window, you'd say, and some really good additions.
Very
well.
good.
Cheers, Harris.
Thanks for your time, mate. Appreciate it.
Trio. Bye-bye.
Sorry to
that little one at the end there, just a little punch in the gut.
Well, we're actually going to come back to the green side of Devon, actually, because I believe you have some news for us, Archie, don't you?
Not definite, but there's been a tweet from the Argyle account, which it says that business is concluded by 9th of January and an early night, but a lot of the comments seem to be suggesting there could be something else going on. And I've seen a name in the chat that's been floating around in regards to a Bolton player. I can't actually find
Declan John, are we talking about?
Declan John, but I don't know how true it is, but I thought I'd just pop up that one just in case there is something that could be going on.
Well, we've obviously got a sort of 10 minutes or so until we start to wrap things up. And as Jack and I mentioned, if there is anything imminent that we want to hang around for, then
Whoa,
I'm sure
one sec, Oxford United. Maybe don't go to bed just yet. Late Oxford United drama. This is exciting now. I'm awake. Get me the paracetamol. Get me the Lucozade and the coffee. We're alive. I wasn't falling asleep. I really, really hope this is okay. Maybe just don't go to bed yet. Leaving the office now. Apologies if you already have. This could be really interesting. Oxford United, really late business. And I love deadline day.
You were going quiet earlier. You weren't hopeful. And now
this is exciting. I don't know. I mean, series going off now. Everyone's getting excited. I think this is interesting. We don't. Maybe just don't go to bed just yet. Apologies if you already have. I'm trying to sort of look at some replies.
Where are you hearing this from?
If I announce my sources, Tom.
Oh, sorry. I was just refreshing the Oxford United Twitter, and I was like, "What on earth is he doing?" But
no, I'm excited. I'm really excited. Again, we don't know. This is the beauty of it. We've sort of been speaking about players. I mean, when you asked me earlier about players coming in, you can tell I'm a little more excited now. Should we just go on for another hour? We were sort of speaking about. Anyone fancy it? No, I was going to say. I think
your own. No,
yeah,
stick around if you need me to.
It's true. I was going to say, I don't think we were very confident early on about a player coming in, so we have no idea. I couldn't give you a name. Harvey White was the only other one we heard, and that he's gone to Derby, so it's not going to be him.
Can I just say something that is confirmed is, and I'm sorry to kind of say I told you so, but I did tell you so. Aiden O'Brien has now been confirmed to Gillingham, so I'm glad that I trusted what I saw on that one. So yes,
last 10 minutes of the window.
That's good news. And yeah, before we get back to Jack, and he's going to gather his thoughts and text his mate, who's obviously got him all excited. Morgan Whittaker was another name that was mentioned, Archie, and I know we might have touched on it earlier on. If we could, just obviously disappointed, of course, and he absolutely tore it up, and a little bit of a concern that maybe a third of your goals has completely disappeared from this Argyle side, or do you feel like you've strengthened enough to counterbalance that?
I think it's definitely a worry. I mean, the fact of the matter is how settled he was down here. I mean, I think it was mentioned in the chat as well. I think our squad togetherness is at sort of the best it's ever been in the past couple of years, and I think it's a really, really strong team. And I think he was settling in down here. He had a few sort of poorish seasons. I think it's Derby County, Lincoln. He wasn't really performing, and I think this was a season where it was like sort of a make or break type of thing. Sort of do your thing, go back and whatever. And obviously their manager wasn't too keen on recalling him, but the owners seem to see him as an asset, and obviously they've not really utilised him as an asset. They're trying to sort of include him in the squad now. So yeah, it's a really interesting situation. But I feel like we've shown with our performances as of late that Whittaker, yeah, he is a loss, but we have players to fill his boots. Like Ballymumba seems to be from right wing back seems to be creeping up with the contributions as well. So yeah, I think the signings we made, Tyreek Wright, and a few other sort of the young ones that are coming through. It's really exciting.
And there's nothing in the last couple of minutes to suggest that we'll have anything Argyle related. No, it's a shake of the head.
I think so. No.
Shake of the head. Jack's a little bit interested in what's going on at Oxford United, so we'll bring in Matt, who's a Cheltenham fan, who's joining us at a late hour. Matt, thanks so much for your company, mate. Really appreciate it, and I realise that it's now 7 minutes to 11 on a Tuesday night, so really appreciate you sparing some time for us. What have you made of everything going on down at Cheltenham? And we were a little bit concerned about a certain Alfie May a moment ago. Can you shed us any light on that one?
Yeah, a bit of a scare. We were told this morning that there had been several bids for him, but he wasn't going to be leaving. But there's always still that bit of hesitancy, I suppose, when you saw that Gillingham was set to bring in two forwards. It kind of makes you a bit more nervy. But yeah, it turned out to be true, and of course O'Brien goes in for them. So happy days. We keep on to him, and they'll be vital to hopefully keep us up. On a broader scale, business for us, I think it's been decent on the whole. I think we've brought in what we needed to bring in. Up until a couple of days ago, before we signed Keener from Sligo Rovers, I think it had been a bit of an iffy window because we'd only brought in two players. But I think, also with the signing today and the signing of Keener, I think we have got in what we need, and hopefully we'll be able to push on and hopefully start to pick up some points, because it's been a bit of a rocky patch of form of late. Admittedly, we have played some very good sides, but we're not in the greatest place. But hopefully these signings will, I guess, put us in good stead going forward. But to be honest, with all the other signings that have happened in League One, who's to say?
My colleague in the top left hand corner of your screen's got a smile on his face, everybody. So
I don't know any more at the moment, but it has been retweeted by the Oxford Mail. Liam Wright, who's a writer for the Oxford Mail. Maybe don't go to bed just yet. Apologies if you already have. So that has now been retweeted officially. But it's really strange. We haven't had sort of any names yet. There is one name that comes to mind. Connor Wickham has not yet signed for a club, I don't think. Can I get some confirmation on that before I?
He has not signed for anyone.
So yes, Connor Wickham was someone that was sort of lurked around for a little while. He has not been given a contract, I believe, or one that's been accepted since he left Forest Green at the start of the transfer window. He was somebody that was mentioned. And I said about Connor Wickham, I think he's someone that was scoring goals for Forest Green in League One. If that is a name being mentioned, that's quite exciting. Also, Pepe, can I ask you a really quick question, because you're going to be someone that probably knows the answer to this.
Yes.
Is there a deadline on deadline day about trying to get players into play? We've got a game tomorrow, basically. Is there a deadline, or is it pretty much sign them before 11?
Yeah, I think there will be, because on Saturday games, I believe the deadline is
it's a Friday
midday,
isn't it?
Friday midday.
So it'd be the equivalent of midday today.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. So how long would that be? 27 hours?
For a 3 o'clock kickoff, though, Jack, on a Saturday normally, but yours is an 8 o'clock, isn't it?
Quarter to 8, yeah, quarter to 8 tomorrow against Barnsley.
5
Are you
o'clock?
sure it's not a couple of days before? I think it might be the Wednesday before the actual Saturday game.
Is it?
No, anyway. I think it's Friday. I think it's Friday midday, because Matt Macy was signed on the Friday and he played on the Saturday. So I believe it is.
That went in before 12 o'clock. That went in before 12.
So they can announce it at any time they feel like. Matt Macy was announced at 8 o'clock, but
paperwork
was done.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Archie, is that I don't know. You're really exciting me here, Archie. This is scaring me. Ryan Hardy, am I allowed to say it? Probably, I know you put it on the private chat. Ryan Hardy maybe up for sale. We had a free up space, and maybe and you guys were linked. I knew you guys were linked to him in the previous windows. That is the Ryan Hardy that plays for Plymouth and is up front, because I'm getting really excited, Archie. This is not fair. How did that come about? Is that something, because he's been playing games for Plymouth?
Yeah, he has. But the only issue is, I think the amount of strikers we have now, we're coming up to 5, possibly 6. And
Ryan Hardy, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I know. It would be massive. I don't want to excite you too much, but I do feel like he is up for sale. I think, in my opinion. I said you've got Niall Ennis, you've got Ben Wayne, you've got all different players that can play in that position. But I'm not sure. I think
it's not Ryan Hardy. It's not Ryan Hardy. We've just it's actually it's an outgoing.
Oh,
wow.
Which is not quite exciting. I'll be honest. I'm not quite sure why they.
Jack,
that is ruined my day. But it is quite an interesting outgoing, actually. Matty Taylor has joined Port Vale on loan. So again, it's not quite as exciting. It's not going to be someone that we did get all excited about. It's not Ryan Hardy. There's still time. We've still got 3 minutes.
Wow.
But no, Matty Taylor, really, really interesting that, by the way, because. I mean, can we have a little chat about Matty Taylor? I know we're laughing a little bit, and I am trying to sort of sort myself out because I got way too excited.
Are we talking about the Matty Taylor is in the famous Pompey Matty Taylor, or is in the
Oxford
the striker the striker that has not been very good in front of goal this season? Interesting. I you know what? I was thinking about people like Matty Taylor when we brought in, Joseph coming back with Tyler Smith joining the football club today, with the T4 also adding to the ranks. Matty Taylor's not been in great form, and I think you're looking at someone like him who has been on the bench now for quite a lot of the sort of since the start of the January window, since these sort of players have come back from injury and players have been added to the squad. That's quite fascinating. But Matty Taylor's joined Port Vale on loan for the remainder of the season. He's out of contract at the end of the season as well. Not one that we expected. Not many rumours coming out of there. But yeah, we can confirm Matty Taylor has joined Port Vale on loan until the end of the season. It's not the exciting incoming, but it's actually a fascinating outgoing.
Shall I put it up on the screen for you, Jack, or do you not really want it on there just to not remind you too much of the...
We've gone from signing Ryan Hardy and Connor Wickham to letting go Matty Taylor. It's not quite the same.
I feel awful for you because you've spent the last 3 hours waiting for that moment, and then it came and your voice quickened up and the pace of what you were saying got a lot faster, and then all of a sudden it's just, oh yeah, he's off.
Well, it's It's part of the game, but that is interesting, and I think what we should say to that as well, it shows that. I mean, Port Vale as well. We touched on the Port Vale perspective. They only signed one player in the window, and they've got a striker who brings experience. I've just seen Pingo as well. I just put a super chat. Thank you very much for that, Pingo. You've said Bristol Rose has signed Bagale on loan from Villa. Interesting. I think that is an area Bristol Rovers that they were looking for a centre back, actually, I believe. So that is a good pickup. Thank you very much for the super chat. But yeah, Matty Taylor on the final, as we're coming into the final 40 seconds of this transfer window, Matty Taylor joins Port Vale on loan for the remainder of the season. I'll be honest, I'm trying to keep it professional. I'm gutted.
Don't blame you.
When we come off air in a minute, ladies and gents, there will be visible tears from our colleague.
There'll be some certain words as well that I can't say for myself to get monetized as either.
There'll be some choice words said, but I again not meaning to rub it in at all in any way, shape, or form. I don't think the news on Ryan Hardy helped him too much here, but Oxford United have confirmed that Matty Taylor, that's not your fault at all, Archie. I just think he just chucked it in there. And could you imagine if that all came into place and he just went, oh yeah, there we go. But yeah, Matty Taylor joined Port Vale on loan until the end of the season, and as you said, Jack, his contract is up at which point as well.
And we should say as well, it is just hit 11 o'clock. That is transfer deadline day complete. Thank you very much. We will have a little chat, I imagine, after. We won't just end the stream now. That'll be quite an abrupt end. But no, that is the end of see you later, everyone. That is the end of our 3-hour live stream to a point. But yeah, transfer deadline day does close 11 o'clock. I thought I was going to get some real late excitement, Oxford United, but in the end, it's Portsmouth that get the live breaking news on this stream. Paddy Lane joins from Fleetwood Town.
Can we chat to Matt a little bit more? I feel really terrible for just him.
We've been quickly telling on the stream all night, and then we're going to ask him one question. Sorry, Matt.
Can I ask you about how unlucky you've been, Matt? Because I remember seeing the game you played against Derby County, and I actually thought you probably. I know there's a few screamers in there from a Derby point of view. One that completely comes to mind. But I mean, Cheltenham Town, especially last season, we were really impressed. I know as fans of other channels, channels with other fans of other. Jesus Christ! It's 11 o'clock at night. Everyone, I do apologise. You know what I'm trying to say, don't you, Matt? We were impressed by what you achieved last season with some, a big result against Sunderland, and you weren't far off it against us when we came to your place. We were at well, I've completely forgotten the name of your stadium. I do apologise. It changed recently, didn't it? What's it called?
Matt, honestly, even I lose track.
Is it
just call it Wadden Road, please?
The completely Suzuki or something like that.
Yeah.
He didn't want me to say that, did he? For sponsorship purposes,
it's dreadful.
It's not great, I have to say. It's really not amazing, Matt. You probably should get that looked at, mate. I hope that's not a long-term deal that completely Suzuki have signed with Cheltenham Town. But there we go. Wadden Road. What have you made of your season so far? And perhaps overachieving slightly since you're only League Two, a couple of seasons ago now?
This season has been such a weird one because we've it's tough because I don't think we've been great. In comparison to last season anyway, but we're in the exact same position we were at this time last season as well. So, I mean, that does ultimately come down to the teams around us, but I think it's weird in the terms that we've had some really bad results. Like we've had the occasional good result, but we've had some really bad results as opposed to, a bit of say inconsistency. I think it seems to be a run of bad results and then a run of good results. I think I mean I've got to mention it. The loss against Alvechurch in the first round of the FA Cup comes to mind when I talk about bad results. It's been a tough season so far because I think Wade Elliott, of course, never really had any top managerial experience. Comes into the job and has been had a I guess a big weight put on his shoulders to come in off the back of having Michael Duff, who probably is, I would argue, one of, if not our best ever manager. So there was a lot of pressure on him, and I think it told with a lot of these results. 1-0 losses away at Accrington Stanley and Burton, poor performances, the loss against Alvechurch.
Bless you.
But then,
thank you.
But then, we have had these performances of late against the likes of Derby where we have been a bit unlucky, like you're saying. I think that Max Bird goal, you can't do anything about it. It was an absolute wonder goal. Best strike I've seen at Wadden Road in a long time. But it's just, we seem to just not be quite we seem to just not quite get the rub of the green, if you like. And I think ultimately it does come down to the fact that we struggle to be clinical with our strong chances. And I think hopefully with these new signings that will help. But it's just the old thing. I mean, even when we lost 4-2 to Plymouth away, I thought we deserved something from the game. When we lost 1-0 to Plymouth at home, we deserved something from the game. Even 0-0 against Port Vale on Saturday. I mean, you could almost say we were robbed. I think over the course of the game we weren't robbed, but we should have had a penalty in the 89th minute when Ryan Broom was absolutely clattered in the back by one of their defenders and the ref gave nothing. But I've seen my fair share of bad League One refs this season, and I'm sure you did the other weekend, Tom, as well.
We did.
But yeah, we're just not getting that bit of luck and that bit of that just one passage of play that goes our way, which changes the result, and hopefully, that will ultimately start falling in our direction. But it's just
let's hope we see more of that for you, because I like Cheltenham, mate. It's a nice little play, lovely little place, very very posh around there. I just wanted to get to a few of these. Bless you, Jack. Nappers, but I don't know what's going on around here. Everyone's catching it. When you sneeze and it's what's the word? Contagious, and you catch it. Yeah. Anyway. I don't know, 11:05. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for still being with us. Ben's been watching in bed, which is really great to see. So I hope he's been enjoying the conversation. And as we said earlier, I'm sure he'd absolutely love to come on and join us. I know Aaron's got a lot of love for Ben as well as the rest of us do on the stream. There was another one. Andy Laidlaw said, excellent stuff, lads. Watched all 3 hours. Andy, you're an absolute legend, mate. There've been moments. Well, I was going to say there've been moments where I'm sure I wasn't going to make it through for 3 hours. So I'm impressed that you have, Andy. So thanks very much for your company for that. And there was one more as well that's from Mark. He said, great chat tonight, fellas. Way better than other commercial bits and pieces. And, that's high praise, isn't it? Jack, are you wanting to add any more? I just wanted to get to Aaron on one thing and then maybe just wrap up with a final goodbye from everyone, or is there more to chat about? One
last thing. MK Dons have signed Anthony Stewart on loan for Aberdeen. Just seen Archie tell us that. So he was their club captain, I believe, at Aberdeen, but sort of wasn't really someone in favour there. He didn't really sort of set the world alight. He joined from Wickham, I believe, in the summer. So he wasn't setting the world alight in Scotland. He's joined on loan to MK John. So to be fair, you can look at really him in League One. He did really well, I thought, for Wickham. I think he was a strong defender, scored a pretty horrendous goal against Oxford United in the final. So yeah, he's someone that I do rate, but also understand. I think he will add something to this MK Don side, who are needing to sort of shore up defensively. I think he will add that.
Just two more bits from me as well. One of them is that Stoke have beaten the deadline to sign Manchester United defender Axel Tuanzebe, and I'm very envious of any Stoke fan, because you'll now get to go Tuanzebe, which I've always wanted to do. So there's that.
You don't know.
No, I know. I might have to go to a few games at the Bet365 now, because that was he's quality, and there'll be he won't be watching, but there's a certain Smithy boy out there who will absolutely love the fact that Tuanzebe is now at Stoke, because he'll be even closer to go and see him. And then the one final thing is that John Joe Shelby is an 11 o'clock confirmation from Nottingham Forest. I know it's not League One, but it's just an interesting one that I thought we'd mention. Other than that, gents, Aaron, is there anything else that you wanted to add? I've just noticed your lanyard, by the way, mate. Sorry that's taken me so long to spot, but
it's my work one, so
don't
still
show
in
us your
uniform,
work thing, but like it.
No. Still be more signings, as long as the clubs are actually going to be signing players. As long as they got their paperwork in just before 11 o'clock. There will still be to EFL and EFA to get countersigned. They can still sign players sometime tomorrow as well. So some clubs will actually get signings tomorrow as well. Everyone thinks that finishes at 11, but as long as they get that paperwork in, they will be signing players. And we've got Paddy Lane.
We have. Well, it just think about it. It's a successful window from a Pompey point of view, isn't it? It's good to see. So Deshaun Bernard, Riley Towler, Matt Macy, and of course Paddy Lane. And as Pepe was saying earlier, Michael Morrison, Josh Cromer, Josh Griffiths, all going the other way. Good night to Napper's mum. Late transfer, talent adopted to the Chapel household. Was reported Angie really wanted the deal to happen. There we go. There was a Dylan. That can happen anytime, mate. We don't need papers to be transferred transferred for that. That's very much a free market thing. Jake said lasted 3 hours, but disappointed we didn't see your dad. Yeah, me too. He was he's getting on a little bit now, bless him. So he does need his beauty sleep. But you will see him in the Barnsley video on Saturday. Big shout out to Sean North. I absolutely love that bloke. I know you do as well, Pepe. I'm not sure if you've got any particular love for him, but I just think he's
Sean North.
He's just Sean North. He's just a legend. And that is a pretty. And Cam said great streams. Appreciate that. Frenchie said well done, lads. I don't think so. There's anything else. Is there, Jack? Did you want to?
One last self-promotion. I say self-promotion, but it's on my channel as well. But we're going live Thursday as well, myself and Tom. We are going to be doing our reflection on the month of January. We normally do a pre-recorded one. It's going to be live exclusively. This one, I believe, on my channel. We'll have a discussion on that, but I think it probably will be. Either way, that will be live and that'll be sort of really interactive show. We normally sort of do them based on the same type of categories, but it's going to be exclusive, interactive, and I'm going to use the word exciting. So hopefully we can see you there on Thursday at 7 p.m. Don't worry, it's not 3 hours. I want to sort of make that clear.
I was about to say, I cannot believe you just plugged more of us after 3 hours, Jay. That's absolutely mental.
If 3 hours isn't enough, you've got another hour on Thursday. So you'll be 4 hours in 1 week.
Absolutely, yes. And Chloe's off as well, Pepe. I'm sure she was impressed by your contributions tonight. So
I'm signing a 50-year deal with the Portsmouth News.
He is. Well, I mean, we take that, don't we? Neil Allen did that about 50 years ago, didn't he? Or however long ago it was.
I actually got my apprenticeship turned into my actual full-time job now. So today. So if that's a way to end the stream,
I feel like we've really ended on a high there.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thanks to Hannah, who said, Tom, you're the best. You'll receive a bank transfer for that immediately after that comment, Hannah. Much appreciated. That's about it from us for now. Thank you to Ian, who said, very good deadline day stream. I've been here since the start. Also, if you have been here since the start, very much appreciated. I
wish people, I can now say to people that were taking the piss out of me laughing and the giggling and all the hints that I knew something. No.
Unless, as Aaron quite rightly said, that there was they might have, we never know. Can we leave you with this? Thanks, Johnny, as everybody. That's the real business, and maybe we leave you with that one as the final one. Jack, any closing words, mate?
Thank you very much to all of our guests who've been on throughout the night. We've been really lucky to have such an amazing running order, by the way.
Especially Matt, by the way.
Yes, exactly. I was texting Matt about an hour before the finish, and we've got him on. I'm glad we got that. And Alfie May isn't going anywhere, so we can sort of have a positive there as well. Pepe, Archie, everyone that's been here, Aaron as well, the ones that have just finished him. But everyone that's been involved, thank you so much. We've had a really good time, and thankfully there were things to talk about. For 3 hours and 10 minutes, we've made it all the way through. Thank you so much. Do leave a like and subscribe, and enjoy the rest of. Well, it's pretty much now Wednesday, isn't it?
Happy Wednesday, everybody.